Yeah, that's what we usually do. All right, we got Myron in the building. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
You see me?
Yeah, I can see you. What, your mic is good right now? Holy.
Yeah, I fixed everything. I should be good now.
All right, hold on. Let me I'm gonna make sure you can see my thing too.
Yeah, let me see if I could.
All righty then.
Yeah, I can't see you, but oh yeah, it's because you're doing your OBS thing. Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to see me now. Can you see me now?
Uh, Let me see. Yep, I got you now. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Cool.
All
All right.
right, Myron, we've been waiting for you.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm happy to be here.
Listen, I try to. I know it's like really trying times and really important times. Universally, we covered hip hop and culture here, but a lot of people were really interested in this. Some people got questions. Should they be worried in whatever city they're from? People are asking me these questions from time to time. I wish I brought you on during the elemental stuff because I know you deal with a lot of border stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I had a few hoes who even hit me. They're like, "Yo, is now the time I should be going to motherfucking, go to yeah." And I was just like, "Listen, I've been to Cancun, and I got to be honest with you. When I go there, there's usually like armed forces that's kind of like by, where the city is. I don't know what's the temperature now, and also we're Americans. There's probably a disdain for us. We've seen another world event happen. This one seems to be even more over the top. The not only removal but the assassination of a world leader, the supreme leader of Iran. I don't even know how to say his name. You would know.
Yeah, Ali Khamenei. Yeah.
And then I'm now hearing that it's possible that his replacement may have also got clapped as well. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I've seen somewhere, which I'm like, yo, we're not going to stop until we get our guy in there, right? So everybody got to die until our guy get it.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. But they want to put in a guy who's like the son of the former Shah from the 70s. That's who they want to put in, a guy named like Rob Pahlavi or whatever his name is. He has like a big ass nose. I don't know if you've seen him before.
Listen, we're a little bit green and new to like all this stuff.
Sure.
I want to give you the leeway here to kind of like, get on your shit, because this is one of, as I tried my best to get up to speed and deliver, the story as how I see it to my audience. One of the very first times I couldn't avoid but at least being honest with the inevitable, which is I really think that we kind of did this more for the mission of what Israel got going on, as opposed to what we need to do for our own national security at the moment. And, I'm not anti nobody, but I'm like, hey, listen, I don't know why we keep doing it, but I guess it is what it is. So from what you could see, I would like for you to kind of give like a breakdown how we got here so fast. What I came up with, obviously the JCPOA was Trump got out of it in 2018. It was agreed on in 2015. He got out of it 2018.
Yes.
We're kind of getting word, it's because of the enrichment of uranium, which that's necessary for the making of bombs. But we're hearing there's a lot more other things that was kind of happening. Obviously, we did assassinate one of their generals.
Yep.
You tell me how we got here.
Okay, so do you want me to go from, because I could go pretty in depth with this. Do you want me to start from October 7th? Because I would say October 7th, even though it's way longer than just that, but I would say October 7th is a good starting point. I don't know how familiar your audience is with that.
Isn't October 7th, though, a situation between Palestine and Israel that which some people feel like that was a really a terrorist attack? What does that have to do with Iran, though?
So I'm going to share my screen real quick. And I got I was already typing some stuff up, getting some stuff ready for your audience. Okay. Because, they might not be familiar with all this stuff. But hopefully after I break this down for everybody, your audience will have a way better idea of Middle Eastern foreign policy. Because I'll be very honest with you guys. The American government lies a lot about this topic for obvious reasons. And you guys are going to see once I kind of get into it. So let me 1 sec here. Let me go ahead and share. I got, a million things going on.
Sound like you're in the war room.
Yeah. So So let's start with the Middle East, right? Here's the Middle East, right? And I saw that you were showing this on your screen, right?
Yeah.
This is the region, right? Israel is right here, okay? Little small sliver of land, but this small sliver of land has created a lot of problems all throughout the world. I'm going to kind of go through it line by line. So first, let's identify what the axis of resistance is, okay? The axis of resistance is a group of different militia groups, essentially, or armies or countries that work alongside each other to combat the aggression of Israel and the West, the United States, right? Basically, Iran is the head of this snake of the axis of resistance, and they did this after watching many different Muslim countries, Arab countries, fall to Israeli influence and American influence, right? Because every single one of these Muslim countries in the Middle East has pretty much either been destroyed or cucked by the United States and Israel. Whether it's like Jordan and Egypt, for example.
Yeah, Egypt is cucked, right? Yeah,
they're cucked. They got cucked by something called the right here, the Camp David Accords. Okay, and this was a deal that was struck back in the 1970s between Menachem Begin, this guy's a fucking terrorist, and Anwar Sadat. But I won't go too much into all this other stuff. But what their audience needs to know for the purposes of this is that either every country in this region has either been destroyed or cucked by the United States or Israel. So, for example, Libya, destroyed. Gaddafi, destroyed. Egypt, cucked. We give them, they're like the second or third highest recipient of foreign aid because we pay them to play nice with Israel. Why? Because they have the Sinai Peninsula, there's Israel south. Then Jordan, to their east.
Let me ask you.
We pay them also a lot of money.
Let me ask you a question. And again, forgive me for anyone who, because I might be kind of throwing you off your spiel here. So when I kind of went into trying to explain it to everyone, and I really went down the history of Iran, and I know you're not exactly at Iran yet, but it's in the same region. So Iran, that was known as Persia before, goes into like
ancient times.
Say again?
That's like ancient times.
Yeah.
But I know what you're referring to, though.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it goes into like this like World War. When the World War I happens, they're like this kind of like neutral figure, and it's around that time that it gets known and kind of like realized for its really important asset, which is oil. And the British was
I'm already ahead of you. I know who you're talking about right now. We're getting it. You're talking about Operation Ajax. This is when the West. Yeah. This was like one of the first democratically elected guys in post World War II, and what ended up happening was Operation Ajax. The United States, the Mossad, and Israel worked to get this guy out of here because he nationalized oil.
Yes.
And England wanted access to the oil. So this was the beginning of the end. So there's been Western intervention wait, for a long time.
Wait, you said who worked to? So from what I researched, was like it was the CIA and British intelligence. Was Israel involved in that?
Yes, it was Israel, because Israel is a brand new country at this point. So they're trying to stabilize the region because they were created in 1948.
Yeah.
Then it was the United States and the MI6. You can see it right here.
Yeah.
They had a coup, Operation Ajax, and they basically got him out of there. And that led to the Shah, right? The first Shah.
Pahlav, no, it's the first one?
Yeah, the first one. So this guy, this dude pretty much.
Pahlav, right? I don't even know how to say his name, bro.
Yeah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. So
he was a good puppet. I rock with him.
Yeah, he was basically a Western puppet is what he was. So this, okay, so we go from the beginning if you want to go Iranian's history, and then I can get into the axis of resistance and what's going on contemporarily.
So wait, I guess the question I was going to ask, and it's up to you, you could go whatever way you want to go, but the question that I wanted to ask was, I remember going into, after like 2001, which is obviously 9/11, and now we're hearing a lot about the Middle East, and a lot of what Americans used to think is, why do we fucking care? And obviously, the main thing that was being put towards propaganda is like, hey, we're going against these people or countries that are sponsoring terrorism, right? Or they're, hiding terrorists within, their countries. Not only that, we then get kind of like this idea, which kind of makes more sense because everything is capitalism as usual. We get told that the real reason we're beefing with these countries are just strictly over oil. And it appears that with like Iran, yes, oil may have been one of the things, especially for the coup, right? But are we really doing things because of oil to this day, or is it just stability in the region?
It's a combination of a bunch of different things. It's energy. It's race tensions. It's religious tensions. A lot of different things going on in the region. Okay, I'll go into Iran first. That like why they're the way that they are. Then I'll get into what led to what happened with what's going on now. So if we go back in Iranian history, we'll start back post World War II. Basically, this guy was democratically elected. We ran a CIA coup with the Brits and the Israelis, got him out of there. This guy comes into power, who's basically a puppet. He gives all of the Iranian resources. He's very Western friendly. Accepts Israel's a state, recognized Israel as a state, which was very controversial back then because the whole Middle Eastern Muslim world did not want Israel there because of the Nakba and everything else that happened with the expulsion of Palestinians. So they overthrow him in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution, who is currently in power now, right? So after that happened, there was, obviously ever since the Islamic Revolution came into power in 1979, Israel's been trying to destroy them, okay? Because they've always presented the biggest challenge to Israeli hegemony in the region. To understand, like, the history, you need to know what the goals are. Israel wants to be the hegemon in the region so that no one else can stop them. This is why they have a nuclear program that's undeclared, that's basically illegal. They've done a lot of false flag attacks. They've done, countless assassinations. The Mossad has some of the highest levels of successful assassinations. They're a very good intelligence agency. That's why they're so good at what they do. But this is the region in general. So, like, when you look at the region, right, all of these countries are either owned by the United States, like Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, etc., or they've been destroyed, like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. Egypt is cocked. Libya was destroyed by us.
Wait, Saudi Arabia, like, they rock with home team?
Yeah. They're an ally of ours, a big ally of ours. And the reason why they're a big ally of ours is because they're very responsible for the strength of the U.S. dollar with something called the petrodollar.
Okay.
So that's why, which I can explain that too later on if you want. But just to stay focused on the conflict at hand, then I'm happy to answer anything else. So this is the region, right? So now that we know the different countries that are in the region and kind of where they stand, they've either been destroyed or cucked by the United States and the West and Israel, right? Mostly Israel. Israel's like the bully in the Middle East that's propped up and secured by us. Like, Israel creates problems, and then we come in and bail them out of their problems. So Israel, right, October 7th happens, right? This is also known as Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, okay? And the reason why I'm telling you the operation that they use in Arabic is because it's important to know why they attacked on October 7th. Most Americans think that these guys just invaded for no reason because they wanted to, October 7th attacks, okay. That they just wanted to attack to kill Jews, but that's not really what it was. There's multiple reasons they attacked, both political and religious. There's three main reasons they attacked. Number one, the occupation. The Israelis illegally occupy the Gaza Strip, right, where these people have no rights, no sovereignty, no nothing. They're occupied. They, can't leave, etc. Then the West Bank up here, right? And these Israelis, right, have the West Bank right here, which they're building settlements on continuously as we speak. And it's been, the entire international community calls the West Bank settlements illegal. Like, they've been expanding it, forever. But that's a whole other conversation. But the long story short is the Gaza Strip, Hamas, right? These guys right here, these guys right here, boom, Islamic Resistance Movement.
Are they a terrorist group?
They are designated as a terrorist group. They're designated as a terrorist group by a woman named Madeleine Albright, and so is Hezbollah in 1997. Madeleine Albright's Jewish, which we'll talk about that as well. But that's another thing. So the October 7th attacks happened. So it's important for people to know why they attacked. Now, Western media will tell you, oh, they just attacked because they hate Jews, etc. Well, that's a part of it. Now, the main reason they attacked is because of the occupation, right? The Israelis occupied them. They tried to do peaceful protests in 2018, 2019. The Israelis were shooting them, killing them, etc., as they were doing the peaceful marches across on the border. And many different attacks and attacks of aggression, not just in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. Number two, the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are basically a series of agreements between the United States, Israel, and Muslim Arab countries. And it's basically normalization, right? It's a normalization treaty. Many of the Muslim countries in the Middle East do not recognize Israel as a country because of what they're doing to the Palestinians. And many countries reserved recognizing Israel until they answer what's called the Palestinian question. And the Palestinian question is either A, you give them their own state, a two-state solution, or one-state solution where you bring these people in and make them Israeli citizens. Now, the Israelis don't want to give them their own state because that would mean they would have sovereignty, they'd have a military, they'd have police, and the Israelis don't want to live next to the Palestinians and feel as though their security is being tested. And then the other reason why they don't want to just bring them in as citizens and just give them a passport and give them full-fledged citizenship is because Israel wants to remain a Jewish state. That means it needs to be an 80% majority, and that is so that they can maintain overrepresentation in politics and government, etc. Palestinians basically have more children. They reproduce more. So what's going to happen is they know over time, if they were to bring in these Palestinians to Israel and make them citizens, they would lose power very quickly. So this is why they've not been able to answer the Palestine question. Now, what Israel's done instead is they've tried to use the United States as an intermediary, right, through bribing, foreign aid, military support, economic support, to get these different countries to recognize Israel without answering the Palestine question. And this is very important. Now, when October 7th happened, Saudi Arabia was set to meet with the United States to normalize relations with Israel. Now, why is this important? This is important because Saudi Arabia has some of the holiest sites in the religion, and they are they have a great deal of influence in the region because of the religious importance of the location. So, though Mohammed bin Salman, the leader of Saudi Arabia, said he would not recognize Israel until they gave the Palestinians some level of sovereignty, he was potentially flirting with meeting with them and talking with them about coming into the Abraham Accords, as well as many other Muslim countries. And the Palestinians know that if more Muslim countries join the Abraham Accords, their ability to be free is gone, because now all the leverage that they would have had with the Muslim countries withholding recognizing Israel would be gone. And then the third thing that no one ever talks about is what's called the red heifers. Now, a guy named Abu Ubaidah, this dude right here, because this guy was a spokesperson of Hamas. This guy, they killed him though, but he's the guy that famously used to always do the speeches with the red keffiyeh on. This guy right here. He, after October 7th, he explained why they attacked. So it was the Israeli occupation in Gaza.
He's from Hamas?
Yeah, he was a spokesperson from Hamas, this guy. So he was, it was the occupation, the Abraham Accords expanding without answering the Palestine question, and then the third one is a religious one. And no one ever talks about this in Western media. The Israelis are trying to destroy something called the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? And that's why the Palestinians call it Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, right? And the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right, is one of the holiest sites in Islam. And what the Israelis want to do, you got a bunch of like super religious Jewish zealots that want to destroy this mosque and rebuild the temple that was destroyed. And not only do they want to do that, they went to America to find 5 red cows. I kid you not. They went to go they're going to sacrifice red heifers, destroy the mosque, and rebuild the temple. It's like to bring the Antichrist really, but to bring, their Messiah. So for all of these reasons, both religious, political, etc., my favorite book in the back. For all these reasons, this is why Hamas invaded on October 7th. The Palestine question wasn't getting answered with the Abraham Accords, tightening the noose on their necks and not being able to get their sovereignty. The occupation in Gaza and the imminent destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, because the Israelis are hollowing out the bottom of this mosque. And they're quietly like letting it get destroyed. They're not renewing permits for it to get fixed. They're doing a whole bunch of bullshit, because there's a temple. It's called the Temple Institute, which is a very powerful organization of evangelical Christians and hardcore Jewish zealots that are trying to get this thing destroyed. Right? They don't talk about this publicly because they know it's going to outrage the Muslim world. So those are the reasons why Hamas attacked. Now, it's important to understand that Hamas is a part of what's called the axis of resistance. Right? Right here. Where is it? I had it. Okay, they're a part of the axis of resistance. The axis of resistance is made up of different countries led by Iran and funded by Iran and supported by Iran. So those organizations are, you got Hamas, Hezbollah, who are north in Lebanon. They're located right here to Israel's north. We're going to talk about them too, because they're about to get into this war. They literally just declared that they're going to get involved.
Wait, who?
Hezbollah. This is these guys right here.
They terrorists too, right?
They're also on the terrorist watch list. Yes, they were designated. They were designated as terrorists the same year as Hamas in '97. So by the Secretary of State Madeleine Albright.
Are any of these people Israelis?
No. They're all Muslim Arabs.
Oh, okay. Because I've always heard Hezbollah and Hamas. I've always heard like It's basically like
Yeah,
a mini
no,
Taliban,
they're
you know?
different organizations. So Hamas is based out of the Gaza Strip. These guys are Palestinians, and then Hezbollah are Lebanese. They're up here in Lebanon, based out of Beirut in southern Lebanon. And then you got the Houthis, who are down here in Yemen, right, out of this area, out of the Sana'a area, also known as Ansar Allah. These guys,
And
right?
all three of them are anti-Israel.
Yes, all of them are very anti-Israel.
Why they don't gang up?
That they are ganging up. That's what the acts of resistance is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this acts of resistance is literally the pushback to Israel, right? So so you got Ansar Allah as well, who they're the Houthis. These are the guys that board the ships. These are the pirate niggas. I'm sure you might have heard of it, like terrorists jumping on ships and boarding the ships and everything else like that. It's these guys. Then you got Syria, the Bashar al-Assad regime, right? He was in power for a very long time. He got ousted, and I'll talk about that here in a second, but I just kind of want to give you the landscape of the Middle East. So in Syria is right here, right? You got Damascus right here, right next to Lebanon, right? And then you also have, with the axis of resistance, you got also the Popular Mobilization Forces. These guys are out of Iraq, right? And they're also they were some of the ones that were in Iraq going after the consulate, but we'll talk about that later as well. So as you can see, there's multiple factions within this resistance, within this axis of resistance. Now you're probably wondering, well, Myron, why the fuck do they have all these different people? The reason why is because Iran has watched the Middle East fall to Israel, right? And for those of you that might say, well, like, oh, Myron, what are you talking about? Well, they prophesized this back with something called a clean break memo, right? So back in 1996, Richard Pearl, Douglas Feith, Robert Lowenberg, all these guys are Zionist Jews, by the way, right? Also known as neoconservatives, neocons. They wrote a paper for Benjamin Netanyahu in 1996, the prime minister of Israel, this guy, right? Where they
Wait, he was president back then?
Yeah, bro, he was, yeah.
Wait, how long does he serve? Because they keep saying he's a terrorist.
So he served intermittently, but he's the longest. I think at this point he just passed Ben Gurion as the longest prime minister of all time in Israel. But
there's no term limits?
I don't know. I don't think so. But he's been in power the longest cumulatively. But there were periods of time where he wasn't prime minister, then he gets reelected and stuff like that. So, but he's been at power pretty much since the 90s. But yeah, there were periods of time where he wasn't prime minister. But anyway, so they wrote this paper for Benjamin Netanyahu in 1996. And in this paper, they aggressively were talking about getting Saddam Hussein out of power because at the time, Iraq was a huge security threat for Israel, right? And this led to the Iraq operation, everything else like that. That's all a whole other conversation because that's getting into 9/11. I'll leave that alone for now. But the thing you need to know is in this paper, they talked about all the countries that they need to destabilize, 7 Middle Eastern countries. And basically it was all the countries that we have now: Sudan, Libya, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Iran. Now, all those countries have either been destroyed or are being, controlled by the United States and Israel. The last country standing now is Iran. So Iran is the last country standing in Israel's way of being the hegemony in the region, okay? And they've been trying to do this for decades. So anyone that tries to sit there and say, oh, bro, Iran has been doing X, Y, Z, no, they've been targeting Iran for decades, right? Since 1979, but formally, even with the United States assistance right here, because all these people, Richard Pearl, et cetera, these guys are government officials writing a paper, a national security paper for a foreign government. Okay, so now that we know the region, what it looks like, who stands where, what the axis of resistance is, now let's get into what happened with the chain of events, right? So October 7th happens, right? And Hamas invades Israel. And during the October 7th attacks, it's important to understand that when that happened, roughly 1,200 Israelis were killed, right? 400 of those people that were killed were IDF, right? Which is considered enemy combatants. It's fair game, right? Look, I hate the loss of life for anybody, but let's be honest here. The Palestinians have a right to resist according to international law.
Those are the soldiers for Israel, right?
Yes, the IDF is these guys right here.
Yeah, that's like their army or their Marines, right?
Yes, it's their basically their army.
And 400 of them died?
On October 7th, yeah, 400 of them died
shit.
On that day. So, and I'm saying that because it's important I say this. So the 1,200 that died, 400 of them were IDF. So that's considered enemy combatants. According to international law, an occupied people has the right to resist their occupiers. Israel, in every sense of the word, is an occupier. The entire international community knows this. They're an apartheid ethno-supremacy state. It's the truth. It is what it is. So anyway, 400 IDF soldiers were killed on that day. That's fair game. Now, 800 Israelis were killed. Now, this is the controversial part here. Nobody knows how many of those 800 Israelis that were killed were killed by Hamas versus killed by the IDF. Now, you're probably saying, what the hell are you talking about, Myron? What are you talking about? IDF would kill their own people. Well, the Israelis have a doctrine. It's called the Hannibal Directive, right? It's a very controversial military practice. But what it does is it allows the Israelis to kill their own in the middle of a conflict to prevent them from being kidnapped.
Wait, what?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, we about to switch to Kick. And by the way, chat, I need everybody to go over to Kick. Oh, by the way, chat. This month, we're doing partial Kick exclusive streams. Shout out to Kick. You know, this is my people over there. But I need everybody to go over to Kick. We want to be able to keep it 100. We're keeping it 100 right now. You get me?
And there's a reason why I'm using Wikipedia on purpose. Because, like, for all the people that say, Myron, what are you talking about, blah, blah, like, Wikipedia is run and moderated by Zionists. So if I'm giving you guys it from Wikipedia, you know I'm not fucking capping here. So
yeah. Hold on. I need everybody real quick. I need all 10,000. We got 10K or actually 11K on YouTube. 4,500 y'all from the Academy, kick.com/academics, and 6,300 y'all from King Academics. Please, kick.com/academics. We want to get into this, but we gotta get into the raw details, man. I've never heard some of this stuff.
And it's on purpose that you don't hear about this stuff, bro. Like they don't want you to hear about this shit at all. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll once you move everybody over.
Yeah, mods, please spam it. We're giving about 30 more seconds. Then we're gonna go to everybody
Kick. Too. I'm on YouTube. I'll tell guys, get off YouTube, coming over to MyronGainsX.com/kick. I'm on Kick as well, guys. Myron Gaines X. So yeah, we're getting the fuck off YouTube, bro.
Yeah, and shout out to Kick, man. By the way, Kick has told us. They said, chat. Kick got a challenge for us, and I'm gonna let you guys know on the later stream. But they say if we rock out and we could grow like how we've grown on Rumble, you know, they got some great stuff in store for us. So we're going to be trying to grow our platform on another platform, you know, one that kind of allows us to do much more stuff, which is Kick. But make sure you guys come over. Yes, we will still be on YouTube at times, and we could grow like how we... Yeah. Kick.com.
Yeah, Kick for me, too. Yeah, mod, spam the Kick thing for me. I'm going to end Kick, too, right now. In a second. So guys, spam the Kick for me on YouTube. We're gonna get the fuck off YouTube. So okay, so let's get into
all right, we're just Kick now. Let's get straight to it. Let's get to the bullshit. What's going on?
Yeah. So and there's a reason why I'm really making sure I cover this for you guys properly on October 7th, because October 7th is the justification for all of this. Okay. October 7th was the domino that began all of this. Okay. And so anyway, going back to what I was saying. When it comes to what transpired on October 7th, the Hannibal Directive was activated on October 7th, okay? So we know 1,200 died. 400 of them were IDF. That leaves us with 800 citizens roughly. And I say citizens charitably because military service is mandatory in Israel, right? So who knows how many of them were reserve, IDF, whatever, but let's go say full-fledged citizens, 800 gone, right? We don't know how many of that 800 were killed by Hamas versus how much were killed by the IDF. Why? Because we know that the IDF employed the Hannibal Directive on that day. Now, I know I see some dumb niggas in your chat saying, oh, what's this guy talking about? I got fucking proof that they activated the Hannibal Directive on that day and killed their own, and I'll show you right now. So you go right here. Yoav Gallant, right? This guy was the Minister of Defense at the time when this happened.
Wait, hold on. I'm just trying to get clear. So you believe that perhaps the Israeli government / military arm of what they have going on would activate something that would allow perhaps their military to kill their own people?
You know what, bro? Look, I'll let the government official tell you himself. Look at this. This is Israeli TV. They ask him straight up, was the order given to use Hannibal Directive? I think tactically in some places it was. In other places it was not, and that is a problem. So I don't want to hear nothing from these Zionists talking shit about I'm lying or anything because this guy right here.
Could you look up the definition? So the definition is that you could kill your own people, because that sounds crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you, like,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why they allow it. So this is what the Hannibal Directive says. Basically, it's a controversial protocol used by the IDF to prevent the capture of Israeli soldiers by enemy forces. Now, they'll sit there and say it's for only by soldiers, but keep in mind that everyone in Israel is pretty much a soldier because everyone has to serve in the IDF at some point, right? So that's how they kind of cover it. So but almost every Israeli citizen is a soldier in some capacity. So it allows them to do this. Now, you're probably wondering, why the hell are they able to kill their own people? The reason why they're able to kill their own people is because if Palestinians are able to capture Israelis and get them back to Gaza, that puts Israel in a very bad position where they have to do hostage negotiations. And the Israelis don't want to have to trade hostages, they don't have to have to trade Palestinian people that they captured for Israeli hostages. And I'll explain why. I'll give you an example why they hate doing this. So there was a guy named Gilad Shalit, I think. There we go. This is a guy that was captured by Hamas, right? This guy was an IDF soldier that was captured by Hamas. They had to give 1,000 Palestinian prisoners to get him back. Okay? You want to know who one of those prisoners was that they got back? This fucking guy right here. A guy named Yahya Sinwar, right? This dude was the head of Hamas's military wing. He was one of the 1,000 prisoners that Palestine got back, or Gaza got back, after trading Gilad Shalit. Now, or Gilad Shalit, whatever his name is. So the Israelis hate doing these prisoner swaps because it puts them in a very bad position where they have to negotiate. Does that make sense? Why they kill them instead of having to do the negotiations?
No, definitely do. And hey, yo, welcome over here to Kick. I see all y'all in the chat. I told you, it seems like some of y'all trying to. Hey, if y'all watch a whole stream, don't worry, I'll give away a vacation to Iran. Okay, I got y'all niggas. Y'all niggas look like y'all want to get up close and personal. I'm gonna stay over here. Okay, I'm gonna stay over here. Y'all can figure out what's going on over there. All right, I'm just saying. But I see y'all over here in Kick, man. We're rocking right now. Go ahead, Myron. You cooking? Okay, all right. So I know you're taking your time. I like how you're dissecting it because shit, I took like a couple hours my damn self.
Because October 7th, the reason why I'm really covering October 7th for you is because, like, what happened on October 7th versus what the Israelis said happened on October 7th is a big thing, and that's what they used to justify the war. They used atrocity propaganda to justify the bombing of Gaza, the destruction of Gaza, the killing of hundreds of thousands of people, and then they used that to wage a war on 7 different fronts. So that's why I'm covering October 7th in detail. But go ahead, keep going.
And I guess someone, I'm asking for, like, maybe the casual here who's saying, all right, cool, we get it, because I think also people kind of realize there's always this, like, Israeli or whatever arm of whatever is going on, but they're like, but we're talking about Iran. Why the hell did we kill their leader? How did that got to do with that particular thing in October 7th? And I guess they're trying to look for that link. And I get what you're saying, and you're kind of walking towards that link, but there's someone who's watching probably now saying, yeah, but how does that culminate into us randomly, seemingly, bombing these guys, saying we killed their leader, and we're going to continue on with strikes, and they're now in a place where they're damn near spiraling because this is kind of like a last stance for potentially the ideology that's within the regime.
Yeah, it's because it's all connected. So the axis of resistance, right? Israel had to take out all of these different members of the axis of resistance for us to get to where we're at now. And I'm kind of going through how they systematically did it. So it starts with Hamas, right, on October 7th. So, and I'm explaining to you, like, on October 7th, what ended up happening was they used a lot of shock value and shock propaganda to say, this many people died, they beheaded babies, they raped women, they did all this stuff, which a lot of that stuff ended up getting debunked. There's a documentary really good done by Max Blumenthal called Atrocity Inc. that shows, like, how they lied a lot to manufacture the political energy and the U.S. support to bomb the hell out of Gaza, right? And once they bombed the hell out of Gaza, and let's go to the map real quick here. So they bombed the hell out of Gaza, right? They started up north here, and they started marching their way down while doing airstrikes, and they worked their way down to Rafah. And once they pretty much concluded their military campaign in Gaza, they started to invade Lebanon, okay? And the reason why they invaded Lebanon is because this is the next part of the axis of resistance. Hezbollah is number 2. So first they dismantled and disrupted Hamas in Gaza. Then they went after Hezbollah to the north. And the reason why they went after Hezbollah is because Hezbollah, while the Israelis were fighting in Gaza, the Hezbollah was shooting rockets into northern Israel. Now, this created a lot of problems for them because Haifa is a very big port for, commercial means, and a lot of people live up here. And what ended up happening with Hezbollah shooting rockets into this area, they had to evacuate 60,000 plus Israelis, and they had to mobilize IDF military resources up here to combat that. So that created a lot of havoc for them because, we all know with military strategy, fighting on 2 war fronts is very difficult. So as soon as they concluded the military campaign in Gaza, they started marching up north into Lebanon. You had a question for me before, because now I'm going to get into the second leg of this explanation.
No, go ahead. I'm following you. So they're systematically getting at these people. They already got Hamas. Now Hezbollah is causing a problem. Now they got to put belt to ass to Hezbollah now, right?
Exactly. So they have to work their way. So, and again, October 7th was what gave them the political juice and the American backing to do this. They've always wanted to do this and go after the Axis. October 7th gave them that excuse.
Okay. And this where I may have been absent and kind of listen to the discourse of why, America, because I really don't give a fuck what's going on anywhere else but here. But were we using that in our country to say, oh, October 7th, we need to help out? Was that political fodder here, or was it just in Israel that was like political fodder to kind of like help them, at least maybe how the world perceives what they're doing? But did we step in like, oh my God, y'all killed 1,200 people, we got to get active?
Yes, we did. We supported them financially, heavily financially. We gave them the bombs. We gave them new weapons. We gave them the munitions to drop bombs all across Gaza. So, and we gave them billions upon billions of dollars. I think Israel gets somewhere around $3 billion per year annually. We quadrupled that pretty much, right? And we were giving them funding packages. Now, Biden every now and then would be would drag his feet, but he still gave them the money they wanted. Also, a lot of people don't know this, but this was also in alternative media. There were special forces that were in Gaza during the conflict.
Really?
There were U.S. special forces there. Yeah, they just don't mention it. But I've seen videos of clearly Americans that were killed in the Gaza Strip. Now, but these guys are like Green Beret dudes, right? We're talking like these guys are deploying. They might be military contractors or whatever, but there were definitely some. It wasn't just the IDF that was there fighting, but that's a whole other conversation. But the point is that October 7th gave the Israelis the juice, the political juice, financial support, and everything they needed to start waging a war on the axis of resistance, right? And their goal was always to get to Iran, but they needed to go through all the proxies first. So first they disrupted and dismantled Hamas. After they did, and they killed Yahya Sinwar, and they killed a guy named Ismail Haniyeh, who were the leaders of Hamas. These 2 dudes right here. This guy, Ismail Haniyeh. And they killed this dude. They assassinated him in Iran, actually, while he was there for a presidential inauguration. So they killed these 2 guys.
What you mean, right? How did they kill him?
They put a bomb in his room that he was staying at.
What?
They killed him and his bodyguard in Iran, in Tehran, actually. Yeah.
Like in his suite?
Yep.
Oh, hell no. Dude. My boy was probably in there getting some head. Like, yo, this shit just blow up. Like, yo, holy shit,
good, bro.
Yo, you ever seen Homeland? You ever seen that show?
Yeah, I have.
Oh man. It's like some Abu Nazir shit. That's crazy. All right, bet. All right, so they killed this. Yeah, that's some crazy shit.
Yeah, the Israelis have one of the best intelligence services in the world, with the Mossad and the Shin Bet and Amman and Unit 8300. But anyway, so going back to us, so Hamas is pretty much gone. Now we're going to get into the second leg of this conflict. Now they invade Lebanon, right? The Israelis invade Lebanon. Now, what they said they were going to do was they were going to make it past the Litani River and make their way all the way to Beirut. Now, Hezbollah has probably some of the most experience actually fighting the IDF on the ground. And, they've won. They beat them in 2006. They made them run back in 82 because they were created in the early 1980s to combat Israeli influence. They're very experienced and grounded. They're actually the strongest part of the axis of resistance when it comes to on-the-ground fighting. But the Israelis had 2 things up their sleeve. And what they did was they did 2 things that I have to give them credit for as well. They did something called the pager attack, right?
Oh, shit. I watched a YouTube video on this. I kid you not. Is this the one where they gave all the leaders and shit?
Kind of. So what happened was this. Hezbollah was terrified of Israelis intercepting their signals intelligence, and their phones. So they started using beepers, walkie-talkies, and other older devices that couldn't be intercepted. So the Israelis found this out, and what the Mossad did was they sold them pagers and walkie-talkies that they made themselves, and they put bombs in them, right? Now, the crazy part about this operation that they did was they put the explosives and sold these things like 10 years ago, So they just had, these dudes were walking around beepers that had bombs in them for a decade, right? And walkie-talkies. And Hezbollah had bought these things for years, right? Thinking that it was going to be, safe from being intercepted. So what ends up happening is in September of 2024, while they're also doing the ground assault, keep in mind, the IDF is here in southern Lebanon fighting these guys, right? They also, while they're fighting on the ground, they do this pager attack and disable and kill a bunch of them.
That's kind of gangster. Myron, I know you don't really rock with them Israeli niggas, but that's kind of gangster.
No, I give them credit, bro. I give them
credit. That's lit.
They're very good. They are extremely intelligent, extremely capable. So while that happened,
didn't they take out a bunch of leaders with that? I watched like something on it, right?
Yes. So this is what they did. So they did it 3 different ways. So they did the pager attack. This maimed, killed, and obviously disoriented a lot of the guys in leadership positions within Hezbollah. They were all terrified, like, what the fuck, we can't use communication. So they couldn't communicate. While that was happening, they had a ground assault on the ground in September. And then on top of that, they killed this guy, Hassan Nasrallah, who was the head of Hezbollah at the time, right? They killed him in an air assault in Beirut. And they basically, bombed. He was in a bunker somewhere, and they used a bunch of bunker buster bombs, and they killed him and a bunch of higher level guys in Hezbollah. They killed him.
Wait,
and
he was in a bunker and they killed his ass?
Yeah.
Yeah, niggas hate you, bro. Yeah, if you're in a bomb bunker and you're getting bombed so much they blow the bunker up and kill you, be like, yo, what did you do to deserve this? Goddamn, all right, bet. So they killed that guy, and he's one of the main guys of Hezbollah.
He was the head of Hezbollah, and they also killed this guy as well, who was a high-ranking guy right around the same time as well. Well, they killed him in July, and then they got Hassan Nasrallah a few months later.
Holy shit.
So this is what they did. So they did like a 3-pronged attack. 1, they invade into southern Lebanon and they fight Hezbollah on the ground. 2, they launched a pager attack. 3, they're doing airstrikes, killing the leadership. So now your leadership is gone. You can't communicate, and you're having to fight on the ground. So obviously this led to them having to do a ceasefire. So Hezbollah and Israel enter a ceasefire. Now we're going to get into phase 3 of this war. Do you want me to, before I get it, because now we're going to get into Syria.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead. Story sounded good. I like a good story now.
Okay, so after Hezbollah's been disrupted and dismantled, now the Israelis are going to go into phase 3. They're going to start taking over the Bashar al-Assad regime. This guy right here, okay? Now you're probably wondering, why him? The reason why he's so critical in the acts of resistance is because Syria is in a very strategically important location on the border of Lebanon. Since Hezbollah is right there on the border of Israel, right to the north, this is a very important strategic location for the acts of resistance and Hezbollah. Now, the problem is, for them to get the equipment and resources they need, the weapons and the money and the resources need to flow from Iran to Iraq through Damascus into Lebanon. So the Israelis knew this, and they said, okay, now we need to take out Bashar al-Assad. Now, Syria had been weakened for many years because they had a civil war, lots of conflict going on, lots of different countries involved, one of the most complex wars in the Middle East. I won't go too much into that, but for the purposes of today's discussion, all you need, Syria has been weakened, and not only have they been weakened, they haven't been able to get support from one of their biggest allies, aka Russia. And the reason for that, right, is because Russia, right here, wasn't able to support Syria like they normally do, because obviously they got the war going on with Ukraine, right? All of their resources are tied up in Ukraine. And normally Bashar al-Assad was able to stay in power because Russian air power would bomb all these, rebel groups all across Syria. So he was able to stay safe in Damascus, despite the fact that the country was extremely fragmented. So now with Russia not being able to support with air superiority, and then Lebanon and Hezbollah being destabilized, the Israelis launched their attack. And what they basically did was, well, they didn't really attack, but what they did was the United States and Israel had rebel groups ready to go. Now, in the Idlib province right here in Syria, there's a guy named this dude right here, Ahmed al-Shara, okay, aka al-Jalani. This guy used to be a member of Al-Qaeda, right? And this dude was the head of HTS, okay, a rebel group out of Syria. And what ended up happening was when Hezbollah and Israel negotiated their ceasefire, this activated HTS and Ahmed al-Shara and his crew. And what they did basically was they went into Aleppo, they killed everybody, took the shit over. They took the M5 highway all the way down into Homs, and then worked their way to Damascus. And bro, within 3 weeks, they took over Syria. They took over Syria immediately because there was no support from Russia, no support from Hezbollah. And Bashar al-Assad had to flee all the way to Russia. Now he's chilling somewhere in Moscow playing video games, Bashar al-Assad. But important to know, as Bashar al-Assad was fleeing, right, and Syria was falling, the Israelis started bombing all of the military infrastructure in Syria, right? They moved up in the Golan Heights. Now the Golan Heights, right, are occupied territory of very great strategic value, right here basically. If I can show you on a map, which is basically Syria, but the Israelis occupy it, and they occupy it for security reasons. But what the Israelis did was, after Bashar al-Assad fell, they expanded the parameters of the Golan Heights, and they started bombing the hell out of all of Syria, all the Syrian military's infrastructure, so that when Ahmed al-Shara came in, he would not be able to use it against them. Now, with that said, Ahmed al-Shara was backed by the United States. Trump admitted like a week or two ago during a speech that he was the one that put Ahmed al-Shara in. He was like, I basically put the guy in. And so did the Israelis as well. So, but they don't trust him, obviously, because what he used to be. But Ahmed al-Shara took the deal from the Israelis and the United States. You want to know why? It's to relieve sanctions from Syria. And he's now in power. He kicked the IRGC out. That's another important thing that he did. When he came into power, he kicked out the IRGC. Now, you're probably wondering, who the fuck are the IRGC? The IRGC is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, right? And a lot of them were stationed in Syria, but once Ahmed al-Shara came into power, he got them out of there. He said, you guys got to get the fuck out of here. You know, we want to get sanctions removed on our country. We want to rebuild, etc. We're not going to fucking be a part of the Axis of Resistance anymore. It creates problems. So he got them the fuck up out of there. So now 3 different Axis powers have been destabilized, right? So Hamas, gone, right? October 7th happens, Hamas, gone. Hezbollah, gone. Bashar al-Assad, gone. Now we're going to get into the Houthis. Last year, right around this time, Trump started aggressively bombing Yemen. You remember when Pete Hegseth and them went viral over the Signal Gate, where they were discussing classified information of bombing the Houthis in Yemen?
I don't know if you heard about that. Shit, I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna sound mad basic. When I heard Houthis, nigga, I was thinking about New York niggas calling bitches Tooties. Like I never heard about no Houthis, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't worry. So basically, long story short, is the United States started bombing the fuck out of Yemen, right, to get rid of these Houthis. But the thing is with the Houthis is they've been in warfare for a very long time. They're very resourceful. They're hard to get. You know, we're talking about like ragtag militia guys, right, teenagers and shit. Okay, but what these guys are known for.
Let me ask a follow-up question. So, when it comes to, I guess we understand what Hamas is, but Hezbollah and Houthis or whatever, right? They're not the official like military arm of these countries. What are they classified, and who funds them?
Oh, so Iran funds all of these Axis powers. Really? The only one that was really official was Bashar al-Assad. But Hezbollah is a non-state actor. They're not necessarily a part of the. They have representation in the Lebanese government, but they are not the Lebanese army. They're not the official army.
Who gives them money? Gives them arms?
Iran funds them.
Okay, so Iran is the. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
okay.
So Iran is the head of the Acts of Resistance and the main supporter and backer of all of these different groups.
Okay.
So that's so this is why Israel had to get rid of all the proxies first, then go after the head of the snake, right? In their eyes. So what ended up happening? So now we're on the Houthis, right? So we talked about Syria falls at the end of 2024, right? They fall. So Lebanon falls in September, or at the end of right around November 2024. Syria falls in December 2024. Ahmed al-Shara comes into power January of 2025, right? Okay. So the Axis is pretty much gone. March of 2025, right now in the timeline, the Houthis are starting to get bombed by the United States. Now, the reason why the Houthis are such a problem, right, for the United States is because these are the guys that board the ships. These guys were causing havoc in this region right here where a lot of freighter ships come through, right? And they were boarding these ships. They were, especially they were targeting American and Israeli ships. They ended up like bankrupting a port in Israel for doing this. and they were hurting them economically quite a bit. Because, obviously there's regular warfare, but there's also economic warfare. And the Houthis were causing havoc for these guys. So the United States started bombing the fuck out of these guys. But the United States quickly realized we're spending a lot of money to go after these guys. We're talking about billions of dollars of missiles. And they ended up actually negotiating a ceasefire with the Houthis in March, right? And in exchange, the Houthis would stop attacking any type of ships that were affiliated with the United States, but they kept attacking Israeli ships. So that also didn't make the mainstream media. So the Houthis are still around, but they're, they are weakened to a degree. So what's left? Well, Iran is left. Now we're going to fast forward into 2025, June. So to recap, we got the acts of resistance led by Iran, right? The Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, etc. Right? So Hamas is destabilized. Hezbollah is destabilized. Ansar Allah is, weakened. We got Bashar al-Assad. He's exiled. He flees to Russia. What's left? Iran. So what Israel did was they ran an operation in June of 2025. And it's important to note that at the time when the Israelis ran this operation called Operation Rising Lion, the United States was negotiating with the Iranians for their nuclear program. Now, I heard you earlier talking about the JCPOA, right? Mm-hmm. This right here, which I'm glad you mentioned that. So, because this is also a very important thing. So the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, right? This was a deal that Obama structured alongside, John Kerry, who I think was the Secretary of State at the time, where multiple countries would be involved in overseeing Iran's nuclear program to ensure that they would not get nuclear weapons, and they would enrich at a lower civilian level, right, for civilian energy purposes. And multiple countries are involved. You can see all the different countries here back in 2015. Now, honestly, I'll be real with you. I think this was a good deal. A lot of people might not agree with me. They'll sit there and say, oh, well, it wasn't a good deal, blah, blah, blah. For us to assess if it was a good deal or not, let's go through why Trump backed out, right? So 2018 happens, 2018 comes in, and Trump backs out of the nuclear deal, right? Just like he undone a lot of other things that Obama did. So he backs out the nuclear deal. It's important to know why he backed out the nuclear deal. The reason why he backed out the nuclear deal is because the Israeli lobby is extremely powerful and influential in the United States. Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States in 2015, towards the end of Obama's administration, and basically railed against him for being in the JCPOA, saying that Iran's going to get a nuclear bomb, they can't be trusted, blah, 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 right? When in reality, I'll be honest with you, the IAEA, the NPT, all these different nuclear organizations said the Iranians were complying. They were doing what they were supposed to do. And keep in mind, there were
that's what I read.
So
you're saying that Israel leaders came over here and basically talked us into squabbling with Iran when the people, if we cared that much about nuclear, the nuclear, all the people that's watching that's like, oh no, they're compliant. Like they gave the green light.
Yeah, so Netanyahu came and spoke in the United States in 2015. Here's his full speech that he gave. We won't watch it, but he came in and he was very critical of the JCPOA. And he said, look, you can't trust Iran, blah, blah, blah. So he put an enormous amount of pressure, and so did the Zionist lobby. So Trump actually ran on pulling out of the nuclear deal, and it was one of the things that helped him out because all the Zionist supporters were like, okay, let's get Trump in because he's going to be more pro-Israel, right? So what ends up happening is Trump comes in, he pulls out of the nuclear deal in 2018, right? Not only does he pull out the nuclear deal in 2018, his Secretary of State, this guy, Mike Pompeo, which we're going to talk about him again, right? Who's also a hardcore Zionist. He was a Secretary of State at the same time. He goes ahead and puts the IRGC on the foreign terrorist organization list, right? The Secretary of State has the power to designate FTOs. So he is the one that put the IRGC on the terrorist watch list, essentially, or the foreign terrorist organization list. That allowed them to target IRGC members.
Once again, is the Iranian is their National Guard kind of?
Guard. Yeah, it's their Revolutionary Guard. Let me clean out some of these terms here.
Are they terrorists or they're just they're military?
They're military, but they call them terrorists basically. But they're Iranian. They're the Iranian military. Think of them as kind of like the Iranian. You could say the Marine Corps or something. So, Revolutionary Color Guard. But holy shit, I got a million tabs. So yeah, anyway, so they designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization, blah, blah, blah. So what ends up happening is, 2018, they pull out the JCPOA. 2019, they designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization. 2020, they kill this guy, Qasem Soleimani, right? This was big. This is kind of the beginning of a lot of the issues.
Now,
this guy was the head of the IRGC and basically like the head of the Axis of Resistance. Go ahead, you have a question?
Now, didn't he? I'm, my memory's a little bit limited here. Didn't he do something that was America offensive? Like he had either approved like a strike maybe against U.S. bases. Like he did something. Like there was some reason why us getting him was like, all right, we got the motherfucker, right? Didn't he do something?
He was very problematic for the Israelis. So right here, Yossi Cohen, one of the heads of Mossad, said he was the single most powerful operative in the Middle East and a genius asymmetric warfare former Mossad director. So he was very difficult. He was very bad for the Israelis. So the Israelis wanted to get rid of him a lot because he was the head of the Axis of Resistance, and also he perfected what's called asymmetric warfare, which is actually what we're seeing going on right now.
What's that?
Between Iran and so asymmetric warfare is what the Iranians practice, which is the Iranians know that they can't beat the United States. We're the military superpower. Nobody can stop us. So what the Iranians practice is asymmetric warfare, where they know that they're not going to be able to beat you militarily, but they're going to hit you in pressure points where you're going to win, but you're going to win with a lot of pain. And what it really comes down to is you're going to ask yourself, is the win worth it? Is what you're going to say. And that's where you really start to, that's where people start to ask questions like, oh my God, is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like, and that's the main question that they're trying to do here when they do asymmetric warfare. And we're starting to see that right now, actually, as a matter of fact, with closing down the Strait of Hormuz and all these other things. But before I get into like the war now, it's very important that we understand all these different dynamics, because these dynamics are what led to the current war that we have now. So 2020, they killed Qasem Soleimani in Iraq, right? And Trump used like some very arbitrary, random, nebulous law to attack people that was in Iraq, that was back from the Operation Iraqi Freedom, to justify the airstrike against them. They assassinated with like a drone, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Iraq. So this was obviously a huge escalation. The Israelis started, bombing. They bombed the embassy in Damascus, the Iranian embassy in Damascus, and all these other escalations. But let's go ahead and fast forward to June of 2025, because that's what's going to take us into this current fight that we have now. Before I do that, though, did you have like any questions or anything like that?
No, I'm following.
Okay. So we established that the Axis has been pretty much disrupted and dismantled. Now that the Axis has been weakened, Israel's like, okay, now we have to attack. We did all this work. We got rid of the proxies. They're all weakened. We don't want them to rebuild up. We need to attack Iran now. So enter an Operation Rising Lion, okay? And this was a sneak attack that led to the 12-day war. Okay, this was a Mossad operation that basically led to. Let me see here. Where the fuck is this shit? Hold on. Why the fuck is this shit? Okay, conflict.
While you're bringing that up, I did think of something. So
go ahead. You got it.
The death of the general, and we just kind of like watched out. Which, by the way, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even know why these other countries fuck with us. Like, we had 3 drones trailing the dude. He gets out of a plane. He gets into like some cars and he's driving down the street, and we just fucking blow him up. Like, imagine the nigga who runs the Pentagon getting fucking killed by like people using surveillance on him. It's like, yo, dog, you're supposed to be the anti-surveillance guy. You're supposed to be the tactical military. What's the thought behind, it felt like when that was reported even by Trump, it was like, this is a victory. Why that decisive action? I get what you're saying with Israel, but is it just because Israel just really hated this guy?
For killing Khamenei, you mean, or Qasem Soleimani?
Soleimani.
For Soleimani, it was a big deal because because Khamenei was like he's like the figurehead. He's like the leader on paper. He's the guy, like the face of the organization. But the real brains was Soleimani.
Okay.
Soleimani was the one that set up the Axis of Resistance. He was the one that prepared the asymmetric warfare. He's the one that, because Iran has multiple layers to their military strategy, right? So they have their ballistic missile program, they have their nuclear program, they have their drone program, right? And then they also have economic warfare that they can impose, which will create a lot of economic turmoil, not just for them, but it will also create economic turmoil for the United States and for Israel, which we'll talk about how they're starting to employ that now. So first, let's get into the 12-day war. So while the United States was in the middle of negotiations with Iran, right, for their nuclear program, right, because Trump was trying to institute something similar to the JCPOA with Iran. Now, we go to find out that was all not real. It was the negotiations were bullshit. It was almost like a ruse to get the Iranians to feel safe. And as they were preparing to do negotiations, Israel attacks Iran. Think of it as like this was their Pearl Harbor because they didn't see it coming. And the way the Israelis were able to pull it off, which is genius once again, they had Mossad operatives in country for 7 months building drones, right? Piece by piece, they'd mail the parts of the drones to themselves in Iran, build the drones up. And on the day that the conflict began, they started flying these drones into surface-to-air missiles, right? And other radars, etc. And this would destroy their air defense, which would clear the road for their F-35s, fighter jets, to come in and just start dropping bombs all across Iran and have air superiority. So the Mossad operatives assemble the drones in country, secret agent type shit. Then on the day of, they all launched the drones they built to destroy the air defenses. Once the air defenses were destroyed, Israeli jets come in and they start bombing the nuclear facilities, military infrastructure, bombing Tehran, etc. Now, this disoriented and messed up the Iranians, and it took them several hours to respond. But when they responded, they fucked Israel up bad, dude, really bad. Because the Israelis, number one, they're what I call a glass cannon. They can inflict an enormous amount of damage. Their intelligence services are fucking fantastic, but they can't really take casualties like that. They're a small country. We're talking like 9 million people, right?
Hey, don't they have something called like the Golden Dome or some shit like that? Like something that that protects them from ballistic missiles kind of coming through. Like they have
No. So, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So the Israelis have a 3-pronged air defense system. They got the Iron Dome, the David Sling, and the Arrow, right? And it's 3 different air defense systems that they have where they're shooting interceptor missiles to, take down drones and ballistic missiles that come their way. Now, here's the problem, right? And this is why a war of attrition is very bad for Israel and why they had to, stop the war after 12 days. The Iranians have more missiles than the Israelis have interceptors. So over time, right, the interceptors are far more expensive and difficult to procure than it is for the Iranians to make drones and missiles. Iran manufactures almost all of their weapons at home, domestically, because they're under crippling sanctions, so they are extremely self-sufficient. Their drones, for example, the Shahid drones, those are like 10 to 20K to make, right? Meanwhile, the interceptor missiles that they're using cost millions of dollars to make, right? So in a situation where you got a war of attrition, it's just a matter of time that Iran starts shooting these, cheap drones, cheap missiles. They get shot down by interceptor missiles. Then they start using the real shit to fuck Israel up. The hypersonic missiles like the Fatah 1 and the Fatah 2, etc., that are way faster. And to be honest with you, those are a lot harder to shoot down via the Iron Dome and their other air defense. So as the days went on, it was getting harder and harder for Israel to shoot down these missiles, and they were quickly going through their stockpile of interceptors. So they're going to Trump like, dude, you need to fucking end this thing. So what does Trump do? He says, okay, I'm going to bomb their nuclear facilities, because that was the whole reason that they used to, that was the justification they used to get into the war, which he did. He used the bunker busters. They attacked Fordo, which is a big mountain.
When is this?
Where they had one.
Timeline. Like when?
This is in June.
So this is in June 2025.
This is June 2025.
So
it's a 12-day war.
So you're alleging that we bomb Iran because in June, because Israel's just getting their ass whipped, and we're like, all right, bet we're gonna fucking kind of help out, but we kind of probably tell the United States constituents that it's kind of for different reasons.
Yeah, so I will say this: the Israelis did an enormous amount of damage. They fucked up Iran too. Like, I'm gonna be, I never underestimate Israeli capabilities. They're very good. They fucked up Iran, especially since they hit them with a sneak attack. But when Iran retaliated, they kind of took the gloves off, because for a very long time, the Iranians didn't want to escalate too much, because they didn't want to bring the United States into a conflict alongside them, because they know if you hit Israel too hard, that's going to invite U.S. aggression.
So, going to bring the big brother out. It's like yo, you can't leave a mark on him. You slap him too crazy.
Yes.
The big brother is
Yeah.
coming there and you won't get your ass whipped. Ah, man, I get
Bro,
it.
that's precisely what it is. So because the Israelis had like been poking these dudes, they bombed their embassy, they were assassinating their scientists. Because when they did the sneak attack, bro, I forgot to tell you, not only did they take out their air defense, they assassinated several scientists, nuclear scientists, and they killed a bunch of generals in their houses, dude. In their houses, precise strikes. Dudes are eating dinner with their family, and then boom, a drone flies in and blows up a corner of the apartment complex and killed him in, direct strikes. Precise. So they did that, and they were bombing the hell out of them. So they killed their generals, killed their nuclear scientists, and they started bombing all their military infrastructure at the same time. So it took the Iranians a bit of time to recalibrate and be able to hit them back. So when they hit them back with those missiles, they hit them back extremely hard because for a very long time, the Iranians had to use very measured responses because they didn't want to invite U.S. aggression. So when they hit the Israel, and here's another thing too that's very important, and I want to mention this too. The Israelis were hoping that they were going to be able to decapitate the regime and that the people would take the streets and take the country back. They tried this back in June. It fucking did the opposite. After the Israelis attacked them for the 12-day war, the Iranian people came out and started protesting and saying, hit them back, strike them back, death to Israel, blah, blah, blah.
Well, okay. So they were trying to trigger the mentality that's needed for a coup. And that mentality is, hey, we're glad the regime is getting attacked or toppled, and we want to take control of the government or give an alternate to what's going on. And that was the idea that Israel was doing. I'm wondering why they would do it alone, though, because, even historically, going back to what was that? Is that the 1979?
Yeah,
that was that's was it MI6 and also CIA,
Mossad.
right?
Yeah.
And then Mossad. So it's like, why would you do that without the United States and everything? Especially you guys are the intelligence guys.
Because even if they don't like the Ayatollah or they don't like the regime, they hate the United States and Israel more, right? Like, it's like, I'll give you an example. There's people here that might not like Trump, might not like Biden. But if someone did something to Trump or someone did something to Biden and it was a foreign actor, we would all say, fuck that guy. Even though we might not like our politicians, we'll be damned if, a foreigner is going to hurt one of our politicians, right?
True.
And it creates like a patriotic effect. Like, if you go back to 9/11, me and you are old enough to remember 9/11. Remember when we got hit? Bush went over to the towers and he had the megaphone and he famously said, the people that did this are going to hear all of us, right? And everybody rallied around the flag. So even if you don't like George Bush back then, it
was very divisive in terms of how people thought about George Bush, but it was like the rallying cry. Everyone was like, we like how he stepped out, and despite we don't like him for these things, he's doing what we need him to do right now. It was
precisely.
I said this before. I'm like, yo, listen. The best family reunion is when you have a common enemy, where all y'all talking shit about one. It's never like, hey, we all having a good time. It's like, let's talk about the one motherfucker that's not here or the one motherfucker we all hate.
Exactly, and that's what happens. So when the and here's the thing: the Iranian people know that they elected Mossadegh, and the United States and Mossad and the Brits came in and put the Shah in. So they're like, fuck this. This guy is a Western puppet. We don't want him here. They got him out of there, and they had the Iranian Revolution. So what the Israelis were hoping was, we're going to effectuate regime change by trying to decapitate the leadership. We're going to kill the generals, kill the scientists, create pandemonium, and then hopefully the people are going to rise up. But it did the exact opposite. The people took to the streets and they rallied around the flag, even the people that don't like the Ayatollah, because they dislike Israel more. So they're in the streets protesting, saying, hit them back, hit them back. So, and here's another thing too that's very important that Americans might not know. In the Iranian government, they have reformists and they have conservatives. That's like their effective equivalent of Democrats and Republicans. For many years, there was divide of, working with the West because they want to obviously relieve these, crippling sanctions. So the reformists are like, look, we need to work with the West. We need to exercise some type of diplomacy. We need to get our economy on track. The conservatives say we can't trust them. They work with Israel. No. And there was always this clash, right, at the politically in Iran between these two different groups. Operation Rising Lion and the Israelis attacking that way made them fucking finally unite. So it had the complete opposite effect, because now the reformists and the conservatives said, okay, we might not agree on the economy, we might not agree politically, but fuck the Israelis. We are going to hit them back. And that led to the Iranians retaliating and absolutely demolishing Israel. Now, it's very important that people know this too. Western media doesn't cover this because the Israelis, while they were getting bombed, had laws in place where if you recorded damage of them getting hit, you can go to jail. They literally had laws in place against journalists recording the damage. And the reason why is because they knew that the Iranian intelligence was monitoring all the media that was coming out of locations getting hit in Israel, and they didn't want them to see the damage so that the Iranians can calibrate the missile coordinates and make it more accurate. So they had like a shutdown policy of media. Now, obviously some videos leaked and everything else like that we saw, but the Israeli government was extremely tight-lipped about locations that were hit, whatever. So several months later, I'm watching Israeli media, and I find out, boom, they hit, strategic locations. They hit military bases. They hit a Mossad base. They hit an Oman base. And the Iranians did quite a bit of damage. Now, here's the problem here. Now this allowed the Israelis to move the goalposts because now that the nuclear program was allegedly destroyed by Trump and us, the Israelis realized the damage that these ballistic missiles can cause. So the number one concern of the Israelis after the 12-day war was we need to get rid of their ballistic missile program, right? So they tried to do negotiations again, and they had three requests. The Israelis wanted three things. No ballistic missile program, or the ballistic missile program needs to be reduced where the missiles cannot go beyond 300 kilometers, which is a joke. They must stop all their nuclear enrichment, zero enrichment, not even a civilian program. And they must stop funding all the proxies, aka Hezbollah, Hamas, and all the other organizations I mentioned before. Obviously, the Iranians said, pound sand. We're not going to talk to you about any of that. We'll negotiate on nuclear only. We'll not negotiate the ballistic missile program or the proxies. Now, why is that?
Well, the proxy. Go ahead. Giving you, I'm pausing for 1 second. I know you. By the way, you are killing it. Also, I did put this up on the screen, and I want people who are watching me who, again, I like to show visual representations too. Myron's, again, I think Myron's peak set at like a 300 level. And I always I got to bring it down to 100 level for y'all because a lot of us, we don't know. You see the video I have on here is, because I remember seeing it back in the day. So Israel has like this Iron Dome shit where like when people shoot missiles over there, like they fucking like have anti-missiles that collides with the missiles and prevents the missiles from actually hitting targets. So what I'm showing you, like I'm showing like a video.
Yeah, share your screen so I can so my people can see it too. I see what you have there. Like dude, they made a song about it. It's called Boom Boom Tel Aviv. My friend made it. It's Lucas Gage. Shout out to him. Yeah, dude, they were getting fucked up, man. Like it was bad.
So but I'm not gonna lie, I am fascinated by like this idea of like the Iron Dome though, because to be honest, like, it's crazy how people are just sitting here and just watching it like, oh my God, look, look at this thing that's happening. I'm like, that's fucking crazy. But essentially, I said this before earlier, and I don't know if you want to touch on it. I said a lot of us Americans, we have a very distinct but a little bit jaded way to look at some of these like wars or whatever. And I said, if there was ever a fucking bomb that dropped in Brooklyn, let's say one bomb, it didn't have to be nuclear, a ballistic missile that dropped, that hit the Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah, it would be like game over because we would act like it's the end of the world. But that's the reality that all these other countries have to deal with. That's why when we hear, like, it's probably like, as you're saying, and I'm kind of agreeing too, that we are doing these military actions, but it's kind of mostly benefiting Israel. We're kind of like, I'm cool with saying, all right, yeah, I really don't give a fuck about Israel that much, but, I'm Team America, so if it is what it is, it is what it is. But if there was actual consequences, right? Like, if there was a bomb that fucking dropped, and it's like, yo, this shit just hit Milwaukee, like, we'd be freaking out so much that we'd also probably think 3,000 times before a leader could just, Trump's popping up on here saying, hey, we did this, I dare y'all to do this. But we're kind of doing this because the American people have no fear of anything happening here. So even when we hear, oh, they attacked our base in Qatar, we're like, okay, where the fuck is Qatar? Okay, cool. But we're not seeing it. But when we look at these videos, if they look up in the sky in Tel Aviv, they're watching their missiles go up to try to counter other nations' missiles, and then some of them make it through, because that's the thing. I remember watching. I'm like, what the fuck? Some of them actually did make it through. Like, you know, so
a lot of them made it through.
Yeah,
a lot of them did. Yeah,
and that's scary. Like, look at this shit. This shit is crazy. That is like insane. So. Anyway,
yeah, no, a lot of them went through, bro, and this is why the Israelis cannot sustain long-term warfare, because the interceptors, even though they are intercepting some of them, a lot of them get through. So for the Israelis, you know, they cannot sustain long-term warfare. So this is and also the 12-day war showed the Israelis that they are very sensitive to hypersonic missiles. So what ended up happening was, the Israelis had they wanted no more proxies. They wanted no more funding of the proxies that I talked about, Hamas, Hezbollah, etc. They wanted basically no ballistic missile program, like them to be significantly reduced, and then no nuclear enrichment whatsoever. Now, the Iranians said, we're not going to get rid of our ballistic missile program because that's the only reason you guys are not destroying us right now. It's literally our main capability that keeps us safe, and we're not going to stop supporting the proxies, and, you know, we'll negotiate only on nuclear. So what ended up happening was, you know, first they say, okay, let's get into negotiations. We'll go ahead and talk about the nuclear. And then the U.S. tried to flirt this whole ballistic missile thing, like, hey, we also want you to, you know, kind of nerf your ballistic missile program. And the Iranians were like, hell no, we're only going to negotiate on nuclear.
And let me ask you a question, because I've heard this too before. It's this idea that, okay, you know, the reason why, like a place like Iran has to try to develop nuclear weapons is that, in reality, capitulation to the U.S. government or Israel or whoever, it just doesn't work. It only works when they respect your capability of being a possible attacker or having some military power. Because what ends up happening is that the U.S., which I think this is our MO now, will do a regime change. Oh, okay. Like, currently we're doing a regime change, and the regime change is literally going to be, you got to get the person who we like, who are going to be our bitch. Well, you can't really have a sovereign nation if the only way to not be embroiled in some shit is to put a leader in place that's the bitch of the United States. Except people say, well, look at the countries who they have issues with, but they play it very interesting. They don't do aggressive maneuvers to try to, you know, infiltrate and replace regimes. It's the places like North Korea, this and third, where they actually do have some type of reasonable expectation that there is nuclear capability, and they're like, let's not start toying with this because we're toying with something that the entire world doesn't want to do nuclear trade-offs or bombs. But if you don't have them, you're like a bitch until then.
Yeah, so the thing with nuclear weapons is all about deterrence, right? It's all about stopping countries from aggression. And keep in mind, Israel is a nuclear-armed power. You know, we can talk about how they got their nuclear weapons and how they did it by stealing it from us.
Is that known?
They don't formally declare it, but they 100% have a nuclear weapon program. And they stole the fucking technology from us, by the way. That's what makes this all even funnier. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's nuts. This is what got JFK got killed. It's literally what got JFK got killed for. Is because he was trying to rein in their nuclear program. John F. Kennedy, yeah.
I thought he got killed by a sniper.
Oh God. Okay. I mean, that if you want me to go into that, I could go into that, but I could. That's a whole other animal right there.
All right, we'll table that one. But if you're trying to tell me that there's additional information that suggests that a president of the United States got assassinated, but it wasn't for the reason of some lunatic.
Yeah, I could definitely talk about. If you want me to talk about JFK, I could cover it after the 12-day war. But that will explain to you how Israel has their nuclear program. Because once you figure out how Israel got their nuclear program, like all of this like is even crazier, because they're over here trying to say the Iranians can have a nuclear program when the Israelis are not signatories of the non-proliferation treaty. They have an undeclared nuclear program that's illegal. You know, they stole the technology from us to get that nuclear program. And and they literally have used nuclear blackmail. They threatened to nuke Iran. That's why Trump had to step in and bomb Iran with the Fordo and everything else. He said, if you don't bomb their nuclear facilities, we are going to hit them with a nuclear bomb, because they cannot sustain the damages they were taking during the 12-day war, because they were starting to run out of their stockpile of interceptor missiles.
Wait. So the thing with like nuclear weapons is like, it's kind of like not in your best interest to drop a nuke to your neighbors, right? Like you kind of end up by radiation and all these other factors of why the nuclear a nuclear weapon is so important. You're gonna be affected. So isn't that stupid? Like, why would you threaten to?
Because the goal of nuclear weapons is 100% for deterrence. So, and you mentioned this earlier. So, like, for example, I'll give you an example. Kim Jong-un, right? Crazy dictator, puts people in jail for generations if they criticize the government. If you take a sign down, you're going to go to a hard labor camp. He has a nuclear weapon. Guess what Trump had to do? They went up, they met, they shook hands, they hung out, because the only thing that countries respect is the ability to create damage, and nuclear weapons do that, and that's what keeps things actually safe. Surprisingly enough, this is why Russia, China never want a direct war with us, because we're all nuclear armed, and nuclear warfare is the worst thing that can happen. So it's all about deterrence and mutually assured destruction, aka MAD. So this is why the Israelis want to get rid of the Iranians, because they don't want them to rise up and be able to actually continue to be a power that could challenge their hegemony in the region. So the 12-day war happens, right? After the 12-day war happens, Israel starts kind of rebuilding, getting more interceptor missiles, and Iran understands, holy crap, we got a lot of work to do. So in the 8 months since the 12-day war of June, the Iranians start getting new technology, they start getting new weapons, they start beefing up their air defense, they start preparing missiles, they start ramping up hypersonic missile development of the Fatah-1, and I think the Fatah-2, which are some of their fastest missiles that can be stopped by the Iron Dome and the Arrow Sling, or a lot more difficult to do. They start getting ready they start working with the Chinese and the Russians to get more intelligence on the U.S. As the U.S. starts to build up a military presence in the region, and then they were prepared for this conflict. And then when they attacked Iran, and they told the Gulf states this, if the United States attacks us, every single asset in the region that assists the United States and Israel will be attacked, and they made good on that promise. When they attacked Tehran, the Iranians bombed Israel and the United States back within 90 minutes, dude, which is super fast. So they were ready to go immediately. And right now, where it currently stands is they're bombing Israel. A lot of the missiles are going through. Israel's trying to do their best to keep the footage from getting out there. This is why their 24/7 news station ILTV is not. They're not doing live broadcasts like Al Jazeera is. The U.S. bases are getting destroyed all across the region. They just started attacking Saudi Arabian oil fields, and they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And the Strait of Hormuz, I can show this real quick for your audience. This is a very important economic strategic location.
Hey, by the way,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you've seen this as well. I'm getting a lot of people who are sending this in. They're saying Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I don't even know.
Yeah, they killed him. They killed him like on the first day.
Yeah, but apparently his wife has now died, and apparently she was in a coma previously from the injuries. But apparently it's now being reported by Iran state media, or whatever, that she has succumbed to her injuries. And she has died. She was married to him for over 50 years. They got married.
She was old.
Yeah, they got married in 1964.
God damn. Yeah, he was like 86, I think, when he died. But the thing with him, dude, is after the 12-day war, a lot of people don't know this. He pretty much wasn't running the military day-to-day operations. That was the IRGC, right? So he wasn't like.
Is Soleimani alive at this point or no?
No, he's dead. They killed him in 2020. But they had other guys in secession, and Khomeini knew that this would probably happen, that they would kill him. And another thing too, people need to understand about these Shia Muslim guys.
Wait, you believe that? So Khomeini knew that he would probably die?
100%. Yeah.
Really?
He knew he would. He created an entire. He created like 4 to 5 different secession chains. He knew he was going to probably get killed.
Really?
He delegated a lot of the military operations, the day-to-day military operations, to other people, because they knew that the U.S. was going to attack them, and as the U.S. was staging more and more assets in the region, they knew that the war was inevitable, right? And keep in mind, they were collecting information from the Russians and from the Chinese. The Chinese had spy satellite information. The Russians were collecting information because they were doing military operations together in the Strait of Hormuz. So the Russians and Chinese were assisting him as well. So they knew this was coming. And he already had delegated a lot of the orders beforehand. And what we're seeing happening right now, think about it. Once Tehran got attacked, within 90 minutes, missiles were going towards Israel and missiles were going towards U.S. bases. That tells you that they already had everything ready to go. All they were waiting for was the trigger. Once they attack, dominoes start going. And now we're seeing the Middle East get fucking pummeled. We're watching Dubai, Qatar.
Two
Bahrain,
questions then.
Oman, Kuwait. All these countries are getting cooked right now. Saudi Arabia.
So two questions. The first question is, if they were prepared, why leave your leaders that, you have to understand the capabilities of your enemies, and if you're going against the Mossad, the Israel, and of course the United States, why would you ever, in a moment where it's a tentative thing that they might strike, why would you ever have your leaders in the open? And then second of all, the question is, why I'm a little bit confused. Why the fuck they getting that like Dubai and shit like that? Like, yo, hold on, yo, it's like somebody punching you and you swinging on like anybody who's there.
Yeah,
Dubai, I mean, like, I get it. There might be some allies or they have no issues with the United States, but bombing them doesn't really do anything unless maybe you have some other information. Go ahead.
Yeah. So number one, these Shia Muslim guys, like these guys, it's a theocracy. Like, their dream is to die during Ramadan in the middle of a war against Israel. Like, this is what. So these guys don't fear death. That's number one.
Wait, what?
And then number two, they don't fear death. These
no, wait. Their dream is to do what?
Is to die a martyr during Ramadan, fighting for their country in their eyes.
When's Ramadan?
It's right now.
We in Ramadan right now?
Yeah, Ramadan right now. Yeah.
Oh, I ain't know. I ain't see Ruby Rose twerking yet. Oh shit! What the fuck? So okay, yeah. so religious wise, right now it's like you die, you're a martyr. It's lit.
Yeah. So
shit.
And the other thing too I want to say is, like, number one, like, these dudes they're not afraid to die. Number two, the way that they die during this month is like the best way for them to go out. And then number three, they already had their military infrastructure. They had their military infrastructure set up to retaliate immediately. So even if people are dead, they have like what's called the dead man switch. As soon as they attack, everything's already going. They already had a domino effect ready to go from there.
Wait, now, hold on though.
They were still strategically stupid to meet up like that. Don't get it twisted. That was retarded for them to meet there in the morning on a Saturday, because Trump and the Israelis were waiting for them to do that so they can attack. That's retarded. But it's also important to understand these dudes' mindset where they don't care about dying, and they already had everything set up with a dead man switch, no matter what. But go ahead. Sorry, you're gonna ask.
So you're trying to tell me, like, I mean, obviously, I always think it's the terrorist niggas, like the niggas who like hop on a plane, they know they're not getting off, they put a suicide vest on. You're telling me that the leaders of these people, because I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm one of them niggas, I'll be like, all right, listen, die for Allah. And as soon as when it's my turn, I'm like, all right, let's talk peace, brother. Like, fuck all that shit. Let's talk some peace, brother. Like, I don't know, like, them niggas are stupid as shit, man. Let's talk peace. So you're telling me even the leaders, they're really about that life.
Yeah, they are. And remember, this guy's like in his 80s, dude. This dude's in his 80s. Like, he doesn't care. Like, lives a very modest life, not flashy like the Gulf states. Like, these dudes, like, it really, they are like that. Like, they don't care. Like, their greatest dream is to die in the middle of a war in Ramadan. Like, it's like, because here's the other thing too. The whole Muslim world is like supporting this dude. There's like riots going on in Pakistan and Iraq.
For real?
Like, yeah, bro, this guy's very revered in the Muslim world, and it's because he's one of the only Muslim leaders that's standing up for Palestine. Meanwhile, like countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, these dudes are all cucked to the West. So, like, in the Muslim world, right, they look at him as like a hero.
Hey, by the way, so I was reading a little bit about him. So when they got the Shah dipped out, popped up in the United States, somebody had cancer, they went to Egypt and shit. when he came into power, I think it's like 1979 and shit. Homie, he was on some shit like, hey yo, listen, we getting back to like, you know, like some religious shit.
It was this guy that came into power first in '79, but then he came, that like Ruhollah Khomeini, and then Khomeini came after him.
Okay.
This guy, yeah, came after, but same thing, yeah,
Okay, you're right, 100%, and thank you for correcting me.
Just for your audience, so they know.
So
same shit though.
So when that happens, right? He comes in with like some energy, like, yo, listen, I know y'all was trying to get some westernization on here, but fuck that. Y'all bitches can't do this, that. Yo, he was wilding. Like, he was like, yo, put them hoes back in the kitchen, man. It's like, all of my, no, I'm serious. I was reading this shit. All of it. So the shot that was popping from like, you know, whatever they put him in, like, was it 19 something, like 40 something? And when he got in, or 53, when he got in from 53 to 79, it was like, all right, bet. Yo, we're puppets for the United States. What they doing over the United States, let's do it over here. We're with whatever. So, you know, it's like liberating. They're trying to bring some rights to like the females and stuff. Yo, homeboy get in, and that nigga say, yo, listen, all y'all bitches get back in the kitchen, start putting y'all hijabs on. Yo, we don't want to see nothing but eyeballs. Straight up. None of that. I'm lying? Tell me I'm lying. I said, yo, once I've seen that, it reminded me to just say, yo, people in the United States need to realize, man, you can't save everybody, man. Listen, whatever little progressive, like, feminist shit you got going on, man, keep that shit in San Francisco, bro. When you go over there to, like, the fucking Middle East and they want to have their hoes in hijabs, they want them cooking 18 hours a day, want them to shut the fuck up, bruv, that ain't none of our business. Leave them alone. Right? Because that's what he was on. I looked at it. Google him. It said he brought back the shit that said he looked at Western women as sexual. There were symbols of sexuality, and he wanted to bring back all the shit that women gotta operate like this out here. And here's my thing. I live in the United States, so I'm not gonna reject what's going on over here. But I respect another country for saying, fuck y'all niggas. We want our bitches like this. I respect everybody doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's about protecting female modesty. But the other thing also, I guess, with this guy, like I said, they already had the infrastructure ready to go for retaliation with how they're going to go about things. So, like, you know, this dude was just the face of the face of the government. But the reality now is that now the IRGC is going to run things. And here's the other thing, too. This guy was against getting a nuclear bomb. He had a fatwa in place for them to not have nuclear bombs because it's against the religion. But now these IRGC guys are not going to give a fuck about none of that, bro. They have highly enriched uranium at 60%. It only takes a couple of weeks to enrich it to the 90 weapons grade level. I know that I'm sure they probably still have some centrifuges to continue enriching. So who knows if they, if they're not working towards a nuclear bomb right now. So, and the other thing too, also that's very important is, and I tweeted about this actually, if you go to my X, I talk about this shit. Like, dude, they took the streets and they're not happy that this happened. Like, you got guys like, Patrick Ben David. Look, I like Patrick and everything else like that. But unfortunately, like these Western Iranians or these like exiled Iranians, like they are not like a proper representation of what's actually going on the ground. The reality is that a lot of Iranians, even the ones that don't like the Ayatollah, they hate Israel and the United States more. They took to the streets, bro, and they're like as they watch Iranian missiles leave the country to go towards Israel, they're like fucking cheering and shit like that, man. So yes, there's people that are celebrating and saying yes, down with the Ayatollah, but I would argue there's way more people that are pro Ayatollah because they dislike Israel and the United States more.
Yeah, they're not into the westernization stuff. The rally
around the flag is very real, bro. The rally around the flag effect is very real. And I even said this like in this tweet, like history shows external attacks often solidify regimes, not topple them.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
We're going back to I can't remember what year it is. Well, actually, no.
And Hexeth apparently just gave a speech at the Pentagon. I don't know if you want to react to it, but
yeah, no, we can watch it. So I guess here's the question I'm asking.
Sure.
So if we go back all the way to when there was the coup and it's the quintessential coup. Even though I feel like Iran, which the ironic part of Iran to me is like it's a definition of every country, right? Even our country in the United States, we will be like, hey, listen, I think after this administration, we're gonna have conservative / Trump fatigue, but Trump is not running again. I actually anticipate that a Democrat's gonna win, and they're gonna win definitely for one term,
bro.
Huh?
This war, they might impeach him, dude.
No, I think he's gonna get impeached.
He might get impeached at the midterms.
Of course, he's getting impeached at the midterms. Now he's not gonna leave office and it's not gonna go through, but still, they impeach him during the first term. So hear what I'm saying. When I look at this, I'm like, it feels like every country does the same thing. Because if we go back to what Iran was, how they were doing stuff, and I'm gonna get to a question. I do have a question. Right before the coup, essentially, the Iranian people were upset. They felt like, they weren't being represented right. They felt like they were being a little bit oppressed. The U.S. came in at the right time. That's why a coup works. You have to make the people feel like, hey, we're not doing the best we could do as a society under this administration or this leadership. They agreed with it this and third. By the time the Shah, who was America's puppet, got, exiled or overthrown, they felt the opposite. Hey, these guys, they're America's puppet. So they were kind of cool with America coming in at first, but over time they were tired of America and they wanted to revert back to some more ideals and certain other things where they felt they could speak freely and also live within their religion. My point with all of this is, I don't think any country is ever just stagnant on we want this. It's always a group of people that feel from here to here, and as time goes on, just like Democrats and Republicans, after we had Biden for all that time, we needed this, right? But now we've had Trump. I think it might be like, hey, let's go back. The question I did have for you is, why did the USA do this particular strike where you kill their leader, but it's not be the optimal time for the constituents to say, let's take over or let's get who they want us to get? We hear Trump saying these things like, hey, this is a once-in-a-life opportunity. Take control of your country. And if they're not feeling that, the coup is not going to work. The coup has to be, hey, y'all killed our leader, and finally, let's go take control. If that's not it, it's not going to work. And you're saying that there's a lot of people supporting the other side, so what's the fucking point?
That's a fantastic question. They went into this conflict hoping that people were going to rebel and run a coup or take over, and they didn't. They had the opening right there. Khamenei was dead. They were doing a transition. They're getting attacked. Tehran is on fire. And what ended up happening? Nothing happened. They didn't they didn't end up being able to take over like they wanted. So that's what they were banking on. And here's the funny part, Ak. They tried this back in June and it failed. They've tried this in June and it failed. Now you're probably wondering,
you're saying Israel tried it, right? So maybe Israel is
both of us tried it because we were involved too. Because we came in. Remember, we came in and we bombed their nuclear facilities after. And we were also hoping that there would be a regime change. It failed. But
that felt like an Israel-Ran thing because they were the one who kind of led with it. This one feels like we're leading with it, right? So it's like
Israel led this one too, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And the reason why Trump had to do it that way because he didn't get congressional approval to go to war.
Oh, okay.
That's the key.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying? So it had to be a joint operation alongside the Israelis supporting them. Because he didn't want to have to go through Congress to go to war. So, because he knows that they would have never done it, and he campaigned on no new wars. So, and here's the other thing too, it backfired. This is what Trump wanted to do. This was the plan originally when they framed it. Okay, we're gonna hit them hard, kill the top of their leadership. That's gonna lead to them going into the streets. They're gonna take over their government, and then by Monday we'll be able to get a ceasefire. They reached out. The Italians were involved in trying to negotiate a secret ceasefire between Iran and the United States. Guess what the Iranians said? Fuck no. We're going to continue to pummel the Gulf states, the UAE. We're going to continue to pummel Israel. There's no talking anymore. So Trump was hoping to get a regime change over the fucking weekend, and it backfired because now they're rallying around the flag and they're cheering because they want to avenge Khamenei's death. On top of that, Hezbollah has now entered the conflict, and they've been bombing Israel, and Israel's bombing southern Lebanon, and the Gulf states are getting bombed. They just bombed a Saudi Arabian oil refinery, I think one of the biggest ones in the area, and they're bombing the hell out of the UAE, Qatar, all these other places. Now, you asked me earlier, why the hell are the Iranians hitting them? The Iranians warned the United States and Israel, if either of you attack us, we consider you guys both the same thing. We're not just going to attack you guys. We're going to attack all of your assets in the region. So what ended up happening was they bombed military bases, and they also bombed locations where they knew that intelligence operatives were operating. So Mossad, CIA, etc. A lot of the times they'll have offices in commercial areas to try to blend in with regular society. They might have an office in a mall somewhere. They might have it at an airport. They might have it in an apartment complex. So what the Iranians did was they had collecting all this information for years. They started doing precise strikes on all the strategic locations, not just the military locations, but all the clandestine locations as well for the UAE. For the Mossad and for the United States. That's why they're hitting these different random locations all across the Gulf.
And by the way, so I was looking at the strikes in like Dubai, right? And I seen Andrew even like do a video about it. But like I seen Batman Kevo even drive by where there was a strike. So the global landmark, at least in Dubai, was the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, that's the tallest building in the world.
Okay. Is it possible that Iran just says, fuck it? Y'all think we pussy? We'll knock that bitch down. Like, is it to their discretion? Because I'm looking at, obviously these other places. I get what you're just saying, which is they're going to attack wherever the Mossad or the U.S. have bases or foreign intelligence spotted at. But if you're going to do that and they're blending in with commercial spots, knock the biggest building down in the world. Why don't they do that? Is it out of fear that this will escalate into something more, or they don't want those host countries, like, for example, Saudi Arabia or wherever, to be like, or UAE, to be like, all right, bet, we're on your ass?
They don't want to start a fight like in the Muslim world like that. They're keeping it strictly strategic and economic, right? They're not trying to kill Muslims. They're trying to focus more on American and Israeli strategic locations of military/intelligence infrastructure is what they're trying to do. So that's that. Because and the other thing too is that, like, this is what the United States was fearing, and Israel is creating a regional war and getting these proxies involved, which is what's happening right now. Now Hezbollah has been activated because they warned that if they killed Khamenei, that they would get involved, and that's what's going on. And keep in mind, Hezbollah, though they're somewhat attached to the Lebanese government doesn't really have oversight of them like that. So, and the Israelis threaten like, oh, well, if Hezbollah gets into this conflict, we're going to start bombing infrastructure points in Lebanon. And the Lebanese government's like kind of in a weird spot because they're like, oh shit, like, damn, these guys are going to attack us. So, yeah, dude, like this war, like, obviously I think you could tell from my analysis here, this war serves almost zero American strategic interests. This conflict only really benefits Israel, and this is what Israel's been trying to do for 40 years. And Netanyahu admitted this. He was like in Tel Aviv yesterday on a building talking about, I've been yearning for this conflict for 40 years, because Israel wants to be the hegemon in the region. And what's going to happen is we got 4 service members already dead that shouldn't be dead, because we inserted ourselves into a conflict that we really didn't have to. Iran is not really a threat to the United States as much as people want to try to sit there and cope and say that it is. They're not. They're a threat to Israel. And as usual, the Israelis are fantastic and manufacturing intelligence that fearmongers and makes people think that they're a threat to us. This is what they did 20 years ago with Iraq, saying that Saddam Hussein was a threat to the United States with weapons of mass destruction. And I remember Netanyahu famously saying back in 2002, as he testified, if you take out Saddam, there's going to be positive reverberations all across the region. Where are we 20 years later? Iraq is still a fucking shithole, still destabilized. Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Lebanon, etc. We've only made the Middle East worse. And here's the problem. You destroy all these Middle Eastern countries, it creates refugees. Where do these refugees go? They go to all these other countries because they can't even stay where they're at. So, I don't want to sit here and be like, it's all Israel, it's all Israel. But it is important to note that our foreign policy is dictated by a foreign government that has an enormous amount of influence and power in our politics that pays off our politicians to push legislation and a foreign policy that simply doesn't serve us. And these 4 soldiers that are dead right now are a perfect representation of that. And we're literally going into Iraq 2.0. But here's the problem. Iran is capable. We won't be able to invade Iran the same way that we did Iraq. Iran has unforgiving territory. This is why they're trying to do regime change with the citizens, and it's not working because they know that they can't put boots on the ground and go into Iran. That's going to be a nightmare. So it's a L all around the way for us. Yeah, this war is absolutely stupid.
Wow.
And I've worked with a couple of strategic people, strategic analysts that, talk geopolitics all day. I was in a Twitter space with a couple of them. I said, name one positive. Give me one strategic benefit that the United States is going to derive from this conflict. None of them can tell me shit. That's how you trip up any pro-Zionist person that talks about this war. Ask him, give me one strategic benefit that the United States enjoys from this conflict. They will not be able to name anything, dude.
Maybe they named the we're preventing them from getting nukes.
That's BS because they were already not going to have nukes with the JCPOA. I've debated literally hundreds of Zionists, and I cook them all on this topic. Some people in the chat saying, Myron's wrong or whatever. Dude, I've researched this extensively. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Middle Eastern foreign policy. And any way you slice it, I could work it, backwards, reverse engineer it, how we got to a certain situation that we got into. And if I'm going to summarize and be very, simple, we have dual allegiance Zionist Jews that have positions of great influence in American infrastructure, whether it be tech, finance, politics, social media companies, etc., that have a vested interest in the preservation and security and hegemony of Israel, and they will fund and support it to any degree necessary. And I can give you a million examples of how they do this in many different places. But they do not serve American interests. They serve Israeli interests, and that's why we're in the predicament that we're in. And anytime I ask them, how I always stump them, give me one benefit that the United States derives from these conflicts, and they can't name anything.
Interesting. Did you say someone was doing a press conference now?
Yeah, Pete X said, I have it right here if you want.
Sure.
We can react, but
yeah.
So can you hear my audio?
Yeah, I can hear.
You hear that? Okay, Let me turn up the volume real quick. I'll turn it up a little bit because this is low. I got you. So apparently this was earlier today at the Pentagon. So here's Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War now. They changed
what do you mean earlier today? Because it's 10 a.m.
It was this morning apparently.
Oh shit! Okay. All right.
I think it was this morning. Yeah.
Right, I think you got to share your screen.
You're not. It's not. You can't see it.
No. Am I tripping, Chad?
Yeah. Can you not see? I can see it on my side. You can't see. I can see it on your stream too. I'm looking at. Wait, hold on. Let me look at your stream.
Yeah. No. You have to.
You gotta. Oh, I know what you got to do. Click the bottom. Click your bottom part, and then click the screen. Here, let me reshare it again. Let me try this. Okay. Boom. Can you see it now?
Ooh. Am I tripping? Hold on.
Because on my screen I'm showing it.
I think you might have to share with me. Like how you were doing before. Remember you were sharing before, and then you had stopped because I was sharing.
Do I click stop streaming or change stream?
Yeah, it would probably be change or maybe stop and then start. I don't know.
What the hell? Okay, because
just on Discord. Yeah.
Let me hit. That's weird. Why is it not? Because do I click change stream? You said.
Yeah, well, it doesn't show that you're sharing screen at all. That's the thing. So I would say just stop and then start.
Did that do it? No. Okay. Let me just hit stop streaming. I can give you you want to share it on here then instead?
It doesn't matter. Like I was trying to watch it.
Then. Go on here. I'll give you the link on Discord right now so you can put it up on your. Or actually, you know what? Just go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. We can watch the whole speech probably there on YouTube. If you type in Pete Hegseth, it's probably going to come from the Pentagon. They probably have a YouTube channel. Is what I'm thinking.
Okay. Here we go. Streamed an hour ago. All right. Here we go.
Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq
I'm gonna share
and
this
Afghanistan
as well.
Funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own.
Got it.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution.
I think you're echoing a little bit. I don't know if it's like the audio coming through to your mic or something like that, but it's echoing a little bit.
Yeah, I'll just.
But you can keep playing it if you want.
All right, I'm gonna mute myself, and it'll be better. Watch.
All right, go for it.
Retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. Can you turn the volume up on your side a little bit, Ak? If you
with the, I don't know if you have the master volume thing.
For,
if you
for
can turn
the
it up a little bit.
Let me see.
Bear with us, chat. Bear with us. He's increasing audio on the thing so y'all can hear it.
Okay, they could barely hear it. Let me see. Audio.
You got it?
Hold on.
Oh, okay. You got yourself muted.
Oh. Yeah, I was muted for a second.
Yeah.
Just,
do you have the master volume?
Oh,
thing
yeah.
No?
Oh, yeah. No. All right. I got,
yeah, just
it should be better now. Should be better. Yeah, I'm muting myself that you don't hear the echo. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, just the audio. I mean, for Hexeth on the video.
No, I know.
That's what I was
Absolutely. Here we go.
You kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you. President Trump has also been very consistent. Crazy regimes like Iran, hell-bent on prophetic Islamist delusions, cannot have nuclear weapons. It's common sense. Many have said it, but it takes guts to actually enforce it, and our president has guts. Iran's stubborn and self-evident nuclear pursuits, their targeting of global shipping lanes, and their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Today, in their desperation, the enemy is unmasked as Iranian missiles and drones rain down indiscriminately on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of their neighbors. Cowardly terrorist tactics from a regime that for decades has trafficked in cowardly terrorist tactics, lies, death, and destruction to this day. The Iranian leadership has built nothing except proxies and missiles and drones and deeply buried nuclear factories and facilities. Peaceful nuclear ambitions do not need to be buried underneath mountains. Last June, Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated their nuclear program to rubble. Afterward, we told them plainly, that's it, now make a deal. They arrogantly refused. We said, rebuild it, and we'll stop you again, this time far worse. Well, President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they bent over backwards for real diplomacy, offering pathway after pathway to peace. I watched.
If you click theater mode, Akademiks, it'll make it bigger right there. Like click down right that little two arrows on the bottom of the video.
Ooh.
No, go to the video where Hexeth is, and then right, see the two arrows? Yeah, click that theater mode. No, to your right, right, nope, right. That'll work too. Yep, that works too.
He tried over and over and over again, earnest attempts at peace. The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces. Well, President Trump doesn't play those games. And as Secretary Rubio said after the Maduro raid, if you don't know, now you know. President Trump puts America and Americans first. He doesn't hesitate, and neither do our troops.
If you could pause it real quick, Ak.
My boy said,
so
my boy said if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah. Like lots of bullshit there, bro. That's incredible actually because the only reason they started arming with the ballistic missiles is because we attacked them unprovoked while they were in the middle of negotiations. The nuclear deal that we had with them was probably one of the best deals that we would have had to be able to keep eyes on their nuclear program and ensure that they wouldn't get a nuclear bomb. Once we pulled out of the nuclear deal in 2018, that's when they started enriching heavily. It's incredible that he's saying this as if like, and here's the thing too that I really hate. Pete Hegseth is banking on most Americans not understanding foreign policy and knowing who really runs our policy. So he can go ahead and sell this bullshit to like, dumb boomers and idiots that don't really research what's going on in the Middle East, because to them, they look at it like, oh, all these guys just a bunch of towelhead terrorists. We don't care what's going on. But it's very important to like do your research and figure out what's going on, because if you actually know what's going on, then you'll know that like, well, look, these guys wanted to negotiate to remove the sanctions through the JCPOA. We had eyes on their nuclear program at a heavy level. So we knew exactly what was going on. He's talking about, oh, we knew about their nuclear program, whatever. The only reason you knew about their nuclear program, retard, is because the IAEA and these other organizations were feeding intelligence to the United States because we were watching their nuclear program. And it was after we pulled out in 2018 that they started to ramp up the uranium enrichment to go ahead and have it as a deterrent. Okay? That is why they did it, because when we pulled out of the deal and we started sanctioning them and we started supporting Israel in doing clandestine operations, that's when they started ramping up their nuclear program. So Pete Hegseth is removing an enormous amount of context as to why a lot of these things happened, because he's banking on you, the American public, being too stupid to realize that a lot of this came from Zionist pressure groups. I mean, and it's also important for your audience to know, this guy, Pete Hegseth, is a hardcore evangelical Christian Zionist. He literally said it's anti-Semitic to say that dual allegiance to Israel is un-American. Like, this is a guy that used to work at Fox News, which is also a Zionist entity in itself. So it's important to know where he is politically when it comes to the support of Israel. So of course he's going to try to drum up this argument that they're a terror regime and they do X, Y, Z and all this other crap. But we're not innocent in this either. We were absolutely the aggressors in Operation Rising Lion. We're the aggressors when we attacked Tehran literally 2 days ago. And he's trying to spin it as, oh, they had this nuclear program that they were building. Which one is it, Pete? Did we destroy their nuclear program like you claim with Operation Midnight Hammer, right? And it wasn't a threat anymore, because that's what Trump said. He said that we pushed it back years after the press conference. Or was this just another excuse to attack them again? Because what you really fear is the ballistic missile program, which is what it really is. And that's what Israel's really feared about. Because let me tell you something about their ballistic missile program. Those ballistic missiles cannot reach the United States. They do not have intercontinental ballistic missiles.
I said the same thing. I was like, yo, listen, we have a bunch of silos in the United States that we could deploy nuclear weapons and nuclear warheads, and those have the capabilities of going 15,000 kilometers. If you actually map that, that's 9,000 miles. That could pretty much hit every country we would probably need to hit, right? Like, from New York to California, it's 3,000. So just think about 3 times that. When we talk about ballistic missiles, they're kind of in the 4,000, 5,000 kilometer range. And that alone makes those missiles not really a threat to us. But if you look at the map, it's definitely a threat to Israel, which is, again, I guess we're probably just the best allies and the best friends. We got to make sure nothing happens over there. But,
Can you see my can you see my screen right now or no?
Mm-mm.
I got hex set up on my side. They can see it on my side. Do I got to click I click change stream?
Yes. So in Discord, you have to share a screen. So
Okay. So maybe do I click change stream? Can you see that now? Or no?
Oh, I cannot. Hold on. Let me see.
I have it up on my side. Because I can see it on my side. Why can you not see it on your side, dude? I'm literally sharing it. Like if you look at my screen on Kick, I have it. I don't know why you're not able to see it.
Hold on. That might be me though. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, you might have a setting here that might. Because I literally have it up on my side, so I'm trying to.
Give me 1 second. It says you're sharing your screen, which is kind of like the odd part. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see me and you together. Pause.
I'm starting to think it's me. It might be me because I'm seeing that you're live.
Because I was able to share my screen with you before. It's kind of weird how I'm not able to share it now. Or why it's not showing up on your screen now. Because can you hear this at least?
Okay, wait. Here we go.
Perfect. All right, nice. Okay.
Here we go. Perfect. Good.
Yeah, I'll run it from my side. What time stamp were you on?
I was on 438.
438. Okay, let me go right. And you're watching the News Nation version, right?
I don't know if I was. Yeah, I was. Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, just so we don't miss a beat here. Okay.
Puts America and Americans.
How's that audio? Is that good?
Good. It's perfect.
Okay. All right, I'll run it.
First. He doesn't hesitate, and neither do our troops. The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser focused. Destroy Iranian.
Someone was making a joke. It's called Operation Epstein Fury because that nigga's trying to conceal what's going on with Epstein, bruh.
Iranian offensive missiles.
Because, the Epstein files got buried in this news cycle, by the way.
Destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons. We're hitting them surgically, overwhelmingly, and unapologetically.
Now, let me be clear about this. He's saying, so this is what they have to do. They have to sell to the American public that they're trying to get nuclear weapons to justify the war. But the reality is their nuclear program isn't as advanced as they claim it is, and they try to make peace with it through the JCPOA or whatever, because they know that if they say, well, we got to get rid of the proxies and we got to get rid of their ballistic missile program, well, everybody knows that their ballistic missile program can't reach America, and they know that the proxies don't really serve a danger to Americans domestically. So the only political card they have to play is the nuclear program. But you would know that, number one, Operation Midnight Hammer did significantly push back their nuclear program, and they have somewhere around 200 kilos or so, 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium at the 60 percentile. But they enrich that uranium for strategic purposes to trade that away for sanction relief. That is why they were willing to negotiate with the United States in the first place only for nuclear. But the American public is never going to take the ballistic missile program bullshit or the proxies. They have to use the nuclear weapon angle to justify it to the American public. That's why he's harping on this.
And by the way, they have done that because, again, if anyone kind of understands how nukes work, and I did a whole explanation on it, is so to have weapons, you need to be at the 90th percentile when it comes to enrichment. Yeah. They're at 60 percentile, and the way to sell it is that it's like basically saying, hey, we only will tax Myron if he has $1 million. So Myron makes sure he only makes $900,000. And their way to sell it is this guy, he's kind of still breaking the rules because enriching to 60% is actually a couple of months out of enriching to 90%. So really, the agreements of, hey, you have to have below this, the agreements mean nothing because really we just don't want you to have it at all. But really, it's not about us not wanting you to have it at all. It's really that we want to do what we want to do now, right? So it's like
important to also say, so Steve Witkoff, when he was negotiating with the Iranians, he would constantly move the goalpost. First it was, you guys can enrich, but it has to be civilian. Cool, we'll do that. And we'll allow the IAEA to be involved, everything else like that. The IAEA, the inspection agency that would oversee this shit, they were in Iran up until June. when the Israelis attacked the Iranians kicked the IAEA out. So, like, we lost all our oversight of their nuclear program because of that, even though they were still adhering to it to some degree, even though the United States had pulled out. So, you know, they're using this nuclear angle to justify the war, and they've been doing this for a very long time. Netanyahu's been talking about the Iranians having a nuclear bomb for 30 years, dude. I have a clip, like, I could literally pull up a clip here that shows Netanyahu talking about the nuclear bomb since 1993. So they've always used this excuse to justify the war. But I'll keep playing the clip. Here.
With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interests and the defense of our people.
They are not realistic because you are trying to get a regime change war with the people rising up and overthrowing the government, and that has not happened.
And our allies. Speaking of people, we hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose
Myron,
wisely.
doesn't that come off like so
President
pathetic?
Trump has also been clear about your...
Go ahead.
Doesn't that come off so pathetic? It feels like we're begging the Iranian people to go take their hey, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We'll never come help you guys out again. Go take, hey, we've cleared the way. You got, why didn't we wait until there was a strong opposition that we could be like, hey, this is going to be the leader, right? This is the opposition, because that's what usually works. You need an opposition, you kind of quietly help fund them, and then at some point you help topple the current leadership or administration, and then the people or the person who is the most likely opposition or alternative, they seize power. But it feels like nobody wants to seize power. So now, if no one wants to seize power, if anything, you've just martyrized this guy, and now you're gonna then create something where everyone who then takes power needs to be operating out of a place of strength if they want to keep power, which is going to solidify what he did. So there is no opposition. Where is the opposition? And that's the question I have.
There's none. I mean, the closest is this fucking guy, Pahlavi, his son, Reza Pahlavi, this guy, but they hate him in Iran. You know what I mean? They don't. If this guy went back, he'd be cooked in days, bro. They look at him as a traitor. They look at him as a Zionist. They look at him as a guy that's not Iran first. He's a Western puppet. So he was the one that said that, hey, I would go back and do a transition. Oh, and by the way, he's been on YouTube pleading with the Iranian people to rise up and take over. He tried it in January. He tried it back in June with Operation Rising Lion, and he's trying it now. Nobody gives a fuck who's listening to this guy, bro. Like, they don't. Like I said, they're always going to side with the current government over this guy because they look at him as a traitor. So they have him. And then we also have, like, I know that there was like a group of like a panel of Balochs and Kurdistanis and stuff like that said that they would go ahead. There's different sectarian groups in Iran that they said they would take over. But dude, none of these people are going to be able to take over, because the problem is this: when you have a theocracy, a religious theocracy, where the people aren't just bonded politically, but they're also bonded religiously, that is very difficult to overcome, dude. That is very difficult to overcome. And that's why the people are not taking to the streets and rebelling how Pete Hegseth and them want. They're not doing it. And they're trying to save face now, and he had the nerve to say, oh, we did not start this war, which is fucking comical. They did start this war for bullshit reasons, and you're trying to sell it to the American public as a war to stop nuclear ambitions when we already had the ability to stop the nuclear ambitions years ago, and we had oversight of their program. And us attacking them and pulling out the nuclear deal is what made what ramped up their nuclear enrichment in the first place. Like, all of this is self-imposed, man, unfortunately, from us. But they're trying to sell it to the American public because they expect you to be stupid.
Or fate in either direction. To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both.
It's worse than Iraq because we're dealing with a far more capable military that we cannot win on the ground. That's why we're terrified to invade. We know we can't win. They have unforgiving mountainous terrain, and the country's structured in a way where literally trying to take any of the major cities would be a nightmare. So it is Iraq, but way worse. And it's a way more capable military, and bases in the Gulf are getting absolutely fucking pummeled buy their missiles. And here's the crazy part. The Iranians build their own missiles, just like he admitted. Not only do they build their own missiles, they build their own drones. They have stockpiles of this stuff, thousands of them, thousands. We don't have enough interceptors to save all of our bases in the Middle East. Saudis are already complaining, saying that we are prioritizing supporting Israel over the Gulf states. Well, yeah. And even then, we won't be able to last long with shooting down these missiles and drones. And a lot of them are getting through, bro. I can show you some of this shit on Twitter. It's nuts.
Wow.
Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives. As the president warned,
As 4 people just died over this weekend.
an effort of this scope will include casualties. War is hell, and always will be. A grateful nation honors the 4
And Trump campaigned on no new wars, and he started a new war.
Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America. May we prosecute the remainder of this operation in a manner that honors them. No apologies, no hesitation, epic fury for them and the thousands of Americans before them, taken too soon by Iranian radicals. Before I turn it over to General Kane for the operational update, let me speak straight to you, the Joint Force, our warriors on the front lines. This is your moment. This is the generational turning point America has waited for since 1979, and since the rudderless wars of hubris my generation, our generation, endured. Don't listen to the noise. Just stay focused. Our commander-in-chief is steady at the wheel. We face a determined enemy, but you are better. But we must prove it every single day. History doesn't care if we're tired, if we're scared, or if the fight feels big. It demands warriors who rise anyway. Peace through strength, the warrior ethos, lethality, unity of...
Peace through strength is a common neocon phrase to justify foreign wars. It's been around forever. It's one of the telltale signs of a neocon foreign policy, aka the Jews run it.
Purpose. Those are not slogans. They're the beating heart of what it means to wear the uniform, that uniform. You think clearly under fire, you act decisively in chaos, you uphold the Constitution, and you uphold our country without hesitation. We are not defenders anymore. We are warriors, trained to kill the enemy and break their will. History is watching. Be the force you swore an oath to be: focused, disciplined, lethal, and unbreakable. We will finish this on America First conditions of President Trump's choosing. Nobody else's, as it should be.
And like I said before, if you ask someone, how is this war America first, they will not be able to articulate it to you.
And know this above all, President Trump and I have your back, always. Through fire, through criticism, through fake news, through everything. We unleash you because you are the best, most powerful, most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. May Almighty God watch over you, and his providential arms of protection extend over you. Godspeed, warriors, and keep going. General Kane, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. The purpose of my portion of the briefing today is to update you and the American people on the actions taken thus far. The briefing will discuss the preparation, the planning, setting the force, the early operations, and how we're assessing the progress thus far. So let's get started. On Saturday, 28 February at 01:15 Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 a.m. local Tehran time, on the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command, under the command of United States Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, commenced Operation Epic Fury. As I said, I'm going to walk you through the initial phases of the operation.
Yeah, epic fumble.
But first, I want to express my deep condolences and the condolences of the Joint Force to the Department of War personnel killed and wounded in actions thus far. As the Secretary said, they're heroes and represent the best of our nation has to offer. They're true examples of what selfless service means. Our deepest and heartfelt condolences are with their families, their friends, and their units. We grieve with you, and we will never forget you.
And they shouldn't be dead.
Additionally, I stand here before you today grateful for each service member, planner, logistician, operator across our joint force, for our Department of War civilians, our intelligence community teammates, our interagency teammates who continue to stand in harm's way alongside us. I am proud of all of you as you take the fight to the enemy, and we are the best in the world at integrating, period. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the dedicated commanders and senior enlisted leaders and the enlisted members of the Joint Force who are fighting this fight across the CENTCOM AOR. In addition to Admiral Cooper and Fleet Master Chief Compton, I want to highlight a few today. U.S. Army Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Pat Frank, who, along with his team, are fighting the counter-missile and counter-drone fight. United States Navy Central Command Commander Vice Admiral Kurt Renshaw and his team, who are engaged with the Iranian Navy and projecting American naval combat power from the seas. And United States Air Force Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Derek France and his leadership team, who are crushing Iranian targets from the air. I want to highlight the support to the CENTCOM fight from other combatant commands who are directly involved with this effort, to include U.S. Spacecom, U.S. Cybercom, and U.S. UCOM. I also want to specifically call out United States Transportation Command and U.S. STRATCOM for their contributions to this fight. We cannot project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing without both. And finally, I want to express how deeply thankful I am for the continued service and sacrifice of the entire Joint Force and their families. Their unwavering commitment and dedication are the cornerstones of this effort. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, this marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue. So now to talk a little bit about setting the force and setting the theater. On the order of the Secretary of War over the last 30 days to reinforce deterrence and provide the President with credible options should action be required, the Joint Force began to systematically reposition assets and personnel across the region. These movements ensured that U.S. forces remained postured, protected, and ready to respond decisively for any emerging threat. This deployment included thousands of service members from all branches, hundreds of advanced fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens of refueling tankers, the Lincoln and Ford Carrier Strike Group and their embarked air wings, sustained flow of munitions, fuel, supplies, all supported with command and control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance network. And the flow.
Spending billions of dollars to do this, by the way. That's an enormous amount of logistical cost.
Flow of forces continues today. In fact, Admiral Cooper will receive additional forces even today. This rapid buildup of forces demonstrated the Joint Forces' ability to adapt and project power at the time and place of our nation's choosing. I want to highlight a couple specific cases for you. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which many of you know was down in the Western Hemisphere, redeployed across the Atlantic to set the theater.
And they should have been back months ago. They've been out deployed, I think, for like 8 months at that point. They should have been back and ended that deployment. Now they have a bunch of soldiers on there that are pissed off. The toilets are broken. They're writing to news agencies saying that they want to resign. Morale is low. Let's see what he says, though. Let's see what he tells the news, though.
The ship, her crew, their families, and the entire strike group took a deep breath and, as they always do, began planning to conduct combat operations. The integrated reserve and National Guard forces have continued to demonstrate the value of America's reserve forces, including the Wisconsin Army National Guard operating in Kuwait and Iraq, and Air National Guard units from a variety of states to include Vermont and Virginia. In the case of the Vermont Air National Guard and the 158th Fighter Wing, they were mobilized for Operation Absolute Resolve and then were tasked to take their F-35As across the Atlantic instead of going home to be prepared to support this operation. The same is with our Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve Command tanker and mobility forces, who stepped right out of their civilian jobs to deploy and to protect the region. Lastly, I want to highlight the unsung heroes of warfare, our American logisticians and sustainment force, those who quietly work every day behind the scenes to project and sustain America's combat power. Our leaders from World War II were right when they said professionals do logistics. As regional tensions rose, the Joint Force elevated our force protection measures on the order of the Secretary and repositioned discreetly civilians and non-essential personnel designed to ensure the safety and security of our Joint Force. By the time operations began, only essential forces remained on our bases and in theater, all ready, capable to respond. So now let me move to H hour. At 3:38 p.m. on Friday, February 27th, the United States Central Command, through the Secretary of War, received the final go order from President Trump. The president directed, and I quote, "Operation Epic Fury is approved. No aborts. Good luck," close quote.
Oh, shit.
In the region, every element of the Joint Force made their final preparation.
Oh, go ahead.
Air defense batteries readied themselves, checking their systems to respond to Iranian attacks. Pilots and crews rehearsed their strike packages for the final time. Air crews began loading their final weapons, and 2 carrier strike groups began to move towards their launching points. Across the globe, our operation centers came alive in Tampa, Florida, here at the Pentagon, and of course forward in the Central Command AOR. As always, operational security was paramount as we sought to maintain and sustain the element of surprise. This operation was highly classified so that at H hour, the enemy would see one thing: speed, surprise, and violence of action. The first movers were U.S. Cybercom and U.S. Spacecom, layering non-kinetic effects, disrupting and degrading and blinding Iran's ability to see, communicate.
Translation jammers. They jam the internet and other, communication devices.
And respond. At H hour, the beginning of major combat operations, 01:15 local Eastern Daylight Time, 9:45 local AM Tehran time, as dawn crept up across the Central Command AOR, the skies surged to life. More than 100 aircraft launched from land, sea, fighters, tankers, airborne early warning, electronic attack, bombers from the States, and unmanned platforms, forming a single synchronized wave. This was a daylight strike based on a trigger event conducted by the Israeli Defense Forces, enabled by the U.S. intelligence community. The first shooters
Basically, the meeting that happened is what triggered this.
at sea were Tomahawks unleashed by the United States Navy, closed in on Iranian naval forces, and began to conduct strikes across the southern flank in Iran. On the ground, forces fired precision standoff weapons, measured, deliberate, precise, and lethal. This was a massive, overwhelming attack across all domains of warfare, striking more than 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. We are now roughly 57 hours into the operation. In the initial phase, CENTCOM's focus was systematic targeting of Iranians' command and control infrastructure, naval forces, ballistic missile sites, and intelligence infrastructure designed to daze and confuse them. Coordinated space and cyber operations effectively disrupted communications and sensor networks across the area of responsibility, leaving the adversary without the ability to see, coordinate, or respond effectively. The combined impact of these strikes, swift, precise, and overwhelming, has resulted in the establishment of local air superiority. This air superiority will not only enhance the protection of our forces, but also allow them to continue the work over Iran. Over the course of the last 2 days, the Joint Force has launched.
Now, I'm going to research this a little bit. I don't know if we have air superiority the way he's trying to say. And I say this because and I've noticed that American media doesn't report this, but from many credible sources, after the 12-day war, the Iranians procured some very significant and capable Chinese radar systems, and the radar systems that they got basically counter American stealth. They counter the F-22, the F-35, the B-2 bomber, etc. So I'm going to double check this air superiority thing because they have not been able to be as aggressive as they were in the first war, and they don't want to obviously admit or why. But I'm going to do some more research on that. But I do want your audience to know, for everyone here, that the Iranians do have in hand some very sophisticated Chinese technology. Excuse me.
Is it Chinese? Is it Chinese support them like how we support people who or they're just looking towards those vendors?
No, the Chinese supported them and brought it in and helped them buy it because the biggest weakness that the Iranians had after the 12-day war was air defense, and the Israelis were able to establish air defense early on with the Mossad operatives destroying their air defense and blinding them. So one of the first things they did after the war was they went to China and procured a bunch of these radars. I can actually give you the I'll show you right now. I'll keep playing this and I'll pull it up for you here in a second.
Hundreds of missions from land and sea and delivered tens of thousands of pieces of ordnance. The effort continues to scale. This included American B-2 bombers, which again, similar to Midnight Hammer, flew a 37-hour round-trip sortie from the continental United States, dropping precision penetrating munitions on Iranian underground facilities across the southern flank and slightly deeper. Additionally, Israel has separately executed hundreds of sorties against hundreds of targets. Beyond Air Force and Navy aircraft strike packages, coordinated salvos of precision standoff weapons from across the region have neutralized hundreds of pre-planned targets. As I mentioned earlier, in support of these kinetic operations, U.S. Cybercom and Spacecom have continuously layered effects to disrupt, disorient, and confuse the enemy.
The radar.
I will note that
this
this operation had several combat firsts, which I'll allow at some point in the future Admiral Cooper to talk about since he owns the AOR.
All right, real quick, let me show you what I'm talking about. So China sold these radars to Iran that they have.
The F-35 was supposed to be invisible.
And F-35 is like our main workhorse fighter jet. This is like the cornerstone of the air, of our air superiority. This jet.
America spent $428 billion making it that way. Every angle, every coating, every design decision was built around one goal: to never be seen. But
it's all about stealth.
YLC-8B does not care about any of that. This Chinese-built radar operates on UHF band low-frequency signals, a completely different physics domain than anything the F-35 was designed to defeat. It does not look for the aircraft's radar reflection. It resonates with the aircraft's physical structure, the wings, the fuselage, the tail, making stealth coatings completely irrelevant. Defense analysts confirm the system achieves reliable detection of stealth platforms at 350 kilometers. That is far.
And it's also important to note that the Chinese and the Russians, all of their military infrastructure is designed to combat U.S. Military superiority. So everything that the Chinese design and the Russians design is to combat American stealth it's superiority.
Farther than most F-35 pilots will ever see a threat coming. Donald Trump himself stated in a closed security briefing leaked to defense outlets that American air superiority in the Gulf region is being seriously challenged by adversary technology transfers. And here is what nobody is telling you, yet the radar is only the first half of what Iran just received. The $7.7 billion weapon deal. Most people assume China gave Iran this technology out of political solidarity. The reality is far colder.
And also the other thing too is like for China, right? They import something about 50% of their oil comes from Iran, especially after the Venezuelan situation got taken down. The Strait of Hormuz accounts for almost 80% of China's oil, right? That comes through that strait. Very important for them strategically. So they have a vested interest in the conflict not continuing on. Also, if Iran falls, they know that it's going to become basically a Western puppet state. They don't want them getting closer in their hemisphere. Also, Iran is a BRICS-based nation that's been also dealing with heavy sanctions. China and Russia and Iran obviously are trying to de-dollarize the world. So there's many economic, military, and political reasons as to why the Chinese support the Iranians. But they did definitely step up with helping them with this stuff. And, it's interesting like how, in America and Western media, they're not reporting this. And they're also not talking about any of this when they're talking about combat situations, which obviously they don't want the American public to know this because this is like this is going to bring like approval ratings for the war down even more so. But this is like what we're dealing with. And as much as they're bombing the hell out of Tehran, they should have done way worse as I'm looking at the damage. So I do think that these radars have played a role into it. Also, I've seen from other reporting that a lot of the fighter jets are flying a lot lower than usual, which when jets fly lower, they're not able to create the same level of damage and they have the same level of lethality against their enemies. But the reason why they have to fly low like that,
do you think they're flying lower because they're being detected?
To avoid the radars. It's to avoid advanced radars like this. Exactly. Yeah. So that limits their ability to really do a lot of damage. So he's saying that they have air superiority now, but I don't know if that's like what it really is. I'm going to do more research on this, but I do think it's important that people know that the Iranians do have this technology. This technology does counter American stealth. And keep in mind, the Iranians are still fucking up the Gulf states and Israel right now as we speak. Okay, Israel has like a media ban on all missiles coming in. Some stuff is still leaking. So I don't know if this air superiority is going as far as this guy is trying to say. Because keep in mind that a lot of these press conferences is to also make people feel safe, not make them think like, oh, our soldiers are in danger, etc. So I'll keep playing this though a little bit, because this isn't just the only thing that the Iranians have. They have this radar, and then they also have something else, which I'll show you in a second.
And far more calculated than that. China currently imports 1.4 million barrels of Iranian crude oil every single day, purchased at a discount of $10 to $15 below global market price.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention. They get it at a crazy discount.
Run that math. That is $21 million in savings every single day. Over a full year, Beijing is pocketing $7.7 billion in discounted energy.
So bam, that's their financial interest in preserving Iran's security.
And in exchange, Iran receives the radar and missile systems that can put American pilots at lethal risk. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi publicly stated that the Islamic Republic has every right to acquire defensive systems from strategic partners. A statement that landed in Washington.
And they have a 20 or 25-year deal with the Chinese for strategic alliance.
Like a direct warning. This was not friendship.
This was the most profitable weapons for oil transaction in modern military history.
Engineered in cold financial logic. But the radar and the oil deal are only part of the equation, because China did not stop at detection. The kill chain nobody survived. Detection alone does not shoot down an aircraft. What makes the YLC-8B truly lethal is what China delivered alongside it. The HQ-9B long-range surface-to-air missile system now sits operationally paired with the radar inside Iran, creating what defense strategists call a complete kill chain, from detection to destruction with no gap for evasion. The HQ-9B carries an engagement range of 260 kilometers and an altitude ceiling exceeding 50,000 feet, meaning it can reach high-altitude bombers that once considered themselves completely safe. A single HQ-9B battery can simultaneously track and engage over 50 targets at one time. The YLC-8B finds the F-35 at 350 kilometers. The HQ-9B kills it at 260 kilometers. The aircraft never reaches its weapons release point. A senior U.S. Air Force general speaking on...
Now, when it comes to, Air Force, when it comes to, air combat, it's all about who sees who first. So that's why, stealth is so important, because it gives you the ability to see the target first, attack, and then get the hell out of there. That's what radars and surface air missiles are designed to combat.
Addition of anonymity to Reuters confirmed that layered Chinese supplied systems now present a credible threat to 4th and 5th generation platforms operating in the region. The entire 78 aircraft air wing aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln became more vulnerable the moment this system went live.
Now, this is important because this is going to, whether they shoot these aircraft down or not isn't the issue. The real concern, right, from a strategic perspective is now you have a higher risk, right? So now when war planners are, making their military strategies of how they're going to go ahead and engage with Iran, now, what they used to be able to do is just fly in and not have to worry about anything. Now it's like, okay, now we have to engage from further distance. Now we have to fly lower. And this obviously impacts their ability to be lethal and their ability to conduct the warfare the way that they want. So when it comes to like military strategy and how they do things, it's all about war planning and percentages. So if your opponent has a capability that can impede your ability or destroy your ability to wreak damage, you have to adjust for that. And it's kind of like, I call it like, war algebra. What you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. And that's what ends up happening, where it's like, okay, they have these radars, they have this capability. Now we have to kind of tone down our aggressiveness, because we might not necessarily have the same success percentage that we would have had before. So obviously they're not going to talk about any of this in this press conference for obvious reasons. But this is absolutely something that's in play. And keep in mind, they've had these assets in the region for months. So that also tells me, because they wanted to attack originally in January, but they had to think twice. Like, okay, well, if we attack now, the protesters might not be able to do what they need to do. Like, they have these new radars, they have these surface air missiles. The Chinese also sold them a very dangerous cruise missile. I think it's a CM-302, something like that. Is it in this video? They just closed this deal not too long ago. I'll show you right now. And these things, they call it the aircraft carrier sinker. I'll show you real quick. Chinese, so CM, I think it's the 302. Let's see if I'm right.
You know.
Okay, boom. Yeah, this is the missile right here, and this came out a couple days ago. Chinese made CM-302 missiles is near completion, and this is a deal that they just signed. And this thing is like it's literally counters U.S. naval technology. You were gonna say something? Go ahead.
No. So, you know, I'm just kind of looking at this from like a top level down, and I'm like, man, it feels like Iran is gonna get like crushed because I feel like we're pot committed though, like from a PR standpoint, we've essentially kind of like put our bid in that like, hey, listen, we're committed to this. We got to come out victorious. Mm-hmm. And again, even if a regime change or maybe the regime we want is not the thing that ends up being the result, I feel like we have to so much destabilize Iran that we could come away with like, hey, okay, no, they were really close to making a nuke, and we fucked them up so much that they will never be able to do so in the next 5 years, and they'll be eaten out of our hands, so to speak, because I can't really tell what else we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this: they have underground cities, dude. Like they have miles upon miles of underground cities with missiles and military infrastructure. So like, and we don't have bunker busters that can destroy all of it. So, like, the only way you're gonna really effectuate a regime change is you have to put boots on the ground and like go in there, get rid of the leadership, secure the transition government, have that going on for a while. And we saw that what happens in Iraq. And Iran is 4 times bigger with a more competent military. So, it's going to be damn near impossible. Like, yeah, we're obviously going to, if we were to get into a full-on war with these guys, we're obviously going to win. But the real question isn't about winning. Is the win going to be worth the cost? And are we going to get any benefit? And the reason for that is, the answer to that is no. And I'm getting some news from my guys here. They're saying that breaking, Iran launches a new wave of missiles towards Israel. Bro, they're launching missiles against these guys like every fucking hour, bro. Like, Israel is getting absolutely pummeled right now. Let me see if I could, I don't know if you want me to jump on like Twitter and look, because Twitter like is, you know, really what's been like covering a lot of this shit. And I know there's a bunch of Twitter space as well that's covering what's going on here.
Yeah.
Iran war now regional. Yeah, so like I can jump in one of these spaces if you want. Oh shit, is this Netanyahu? So you see the difference? The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran. Get the fuck out of here, bro. You've been bombing niggas in Gaza all for years.
Set out.
See, look at this shit. Look at this destruction.
This is the 3rd day of the Operation Roaring Lion. The operation.
Wait, who's that?
Israeli army.
This is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Oh, that's that guy? Oh shit.
That's him. Yeah. Yeah, he's aged a lot, right?
The State Division set out to with our.
That nigga stressed.
Great friends, the United States of America. And
I thought they said he's a terrorist.
To thwart existential threats.
He is, bro. This dude is literally a war criminal. He's wanted, by the ICC. He's literally conducted a genocide in Gaza. You know, Israelis will sit there and tell you it's not a genocide. It absolutely is. It fits the terms. Many different human rights organizations have labeled what happened in Gaza a genocide. Even B'Tselem, which is a Israeli-based human rights organization, calls it a genocide. Yeah, dude, like this guy's a fucking wanted war criminal.
To Israel and great threats to America.
Like, this is why everyone is cheering as Israel's getting bombed, dude. Like, no one supports Israel internationally. Like, this whole, like, we stand with Israel bullshit, that's like an American-only ideology. No one rocks with Israel anywhere else in the world, bro. So, like, as bombs are falling into Tel Aviv and destroying their infrastructure, people are literally cheering all across the world.
The entire world. When I stand here in a place that was bombarded by the terrorists in Tehran against innocent civilians, you see the difference.
See, he won't tell you that they literally killed hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza. He won't tell you that they bombed the fuck out of Iran first. He won't tell you how they've literally assassinated so many different people, killed innocent people. They started all these wars, and now they're getting they're getting the find out part of the fuck around.
The tyrants of Tehran target civilians. We target the tyrants of Tehran to protect civilians. I've said for many years that they threaten not only Israel, and not only America. They chant death to Israel, death to America. That's their ultimate target. But I said that.
No, they say death to the governments of these countries, but obviously he's taking things out of context as always.
They would also target those in between, that they would target Europe. They did. And if this regime, this terrorist regime of the kind we've never seen in the world, if they get nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them, ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles, they will threaten all of humanity.
See, Benjamin Netanyahu, I've watched him talk so many times. He's so good at always weaving their problems with American problems. Notice how he had to add in there if they ever get intercontinental ballistic missiles. Why is he saying that? So that he can go ahead and make a credible threat to the United States. He's been doing this for 20 plus years, making Israel's problems America's problems. I've been watching this guy for a long time, and he has a script. He's really good.
So we set out to protect ourselves, but in so doing, we protect many others. And I want to say special thanks to our great friend and a great leader of the world, Donald Trump, for joining us in this crucial effort to save the world.
Yeah, no, save Israel. So, you know, you see the different tyrants of Tehran, blah, blah, blah. So Patrick posted this. Patrick is pro-Israel, which is sad. But anyway. And yeah, this is like what it is. So going to, oh, look at this. Horses from what used to be the city of Tehran. There's been a combined 400 strikes. Yeah, they've been fucking up Tehran too.
What the
Holy
fuck?
shit.
That's Iran right now?
That's this is Tehran, the capital, yeah. Right? Like and here Israel's getting hit back, it looks like. See how they frame it? Innocent civilians murdered, but they do shit like this? Like, yo, the Israelis are professionals at, you know, making themselves victims. And look, let me say this. It's horrible when innocent civilians die, but the Israelis have to be honest with themselves and understand that they've started a lot of these conflicts. Yeah, this guy's an Israeli propagandist as well. Reagan Netanyahu speaks for the first time. And look, you can see the destruction. I'm telling you, dude, the Israelis cannot sustain long-term damage like this. The Iranians can, but these guys can't. And then this guy, look at Hexeth. Look, this shit is hilarious.
It through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home.
And we shouldn't have been there in the fucking first place. That's what he's not realizing. He's talking about the Iraq war. We shouldn't have been there in the first place, Pete, you dumbass. Like, you're literally repeating history right now. You should have been there back in 2003 because we invaded Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction, which was a fucking big lie. The weapons of mass destruction lie comes from Israeli intelligence that Al-Qaeda operatives met with members of his Iraqi intelligence to pass anthrax. That's where that connection was made to justify the war in Iraq. But
it wasn't even about nukes. I thought it was about nukes. No?
No, it was about weapons of mass destruction and that they were involved in the anthrax situation after 9/11. That's how they were able to tie it in. And the crazy part about that is that the anthrax, right, was manufactured here in the United States. It wasn't even by Iraq or Al-Qaeda. It had nothing to do with it. And the other crazy part, a lot of people don't know this, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein hated each other. Osama bin Laden wanted to fight. He wanted to go to war with Saddam Hussein when he invaded Kuwait. So back in the 90s, right? Well, actually, we could go all the way back. In the 1980s, Saddam Hussein was in war with the Iranians. And the United States actually backed Saddam Hussein, and we gave him money, we gave him supplies to fight the Iranians. And so did many other countries in the Middle East. So the war lasted for almost 10 years. I think it lasted between 8 to 10 years. And after, the country went broke. So Saddam had gotten a bunch of money lent to him by some of the Gulf nations. One of them was Kuwait. So he says, look, guys, I went to war on your behalf. I need you guys to forgive the loan. Right here, Saddam Hussein right here. For those, just to get a visual representation for your audience. Here's Saddam Hussein, right? The former dictator of Iraq. So he goes to war with the Iranians for almost 10 years, incurs an enormous amount of debt, all kinds of damage because invading Iran, which he tried to do and failed, okay? Let's go back to the map of the Middle East. Invading Iran is like nearly impossible with all the mountainous area. So Saddam tells the Kuwaiti government, hey, I went to war for you guys to stave off the Ayatollah and the regime. I need you guys to forgive the loans. So Kuwait says, no, we're not going to forgive it. And we're also not going to lower our oil prices. So he's like, okay, cool, bet. He goes into Kuwait and invades it and takes it over in like a day, 24 hours, walks in with the tanks, takes it over. The United States says, what the fuck? So we go in there, we kick Saddam Hussein out, right? When Saddam invaded Kuwait, this obviously created a national security threat for Saudi Arabia because look what's next after Kuwait. Saudi Arabia's right here. Osama bin Laden was he was Yemen. I think he's Yemeni, but he was a Saudi Arabian citizen. Family's worth billions of dollars, by the way. His family created the infrastructure that Saudi Arabia has now. Okay, and this guy was an engineer, very smart. He could speak English. A lot of people don't know that. So Osama goes to the royal family and he says, look, I will fight Saddam Hussein for you guys to get this guy out of here because he's threatening Kuwait and look, Saudi Arabia's next. What does the government say? They say, no, we got the Americans. This infuriates Osama bin Laden. He's like, what the fuck? Why are you guys going to let Kafirs, non-Muslims, fight to defend Holy Land? This is bullshit. They should be fighting this war. I can fight this war because he had just won the conflict against the Russians in the 1980s. He's high off of the W that he took in Afghanistan against the Russians, right? Because Osama is very rich. He was like a multimillionaire. He funded it. He was fighting there with the Mujahideen, which would later become Al Qaeda. So he's high off his victory in the 80s against the Russians. It makes them back out. So when he comes back to Saudi Arabia, says, I could win. I had the Mujahideen. They laugh at him and they say, no, we're going to use the U.S. Because at the time, the Saudis had guaranteed protection from the United States under the Nixon administration because Nixon had secured the petrodollar deal, which is what we had discussed before. So Osama starts criticizing them, saying, like, how are you going to use Kafirs to defend Muslim land? This is bullshit. So they say, you know what, bro, you don't talk back to us like this. You know, in these Muslim countries, they don't have free speech. So they exile him. They kick him out of Saudi Arabia. So he's exiled to where? Sudan. He spends the 90s in Sudan. And this is where he starts to become more radicalized. And this is where he starts, having issues with the United States, starts to hate the United States, because at this time also it's important to note that Israel was waging wars, obviously against Palestine, against Iraq, etc. So interestingly enough, it was the Saudi Arabian exile that was a part of his radicalization to hate the United States. But everyone glosses over the fact that Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein were enemies, and we invaded Iraq allegedly for 9/11. So it makes no fucking sense. It's retarded. So when Pete Hegseth is saying this stupid shit here about, I was in Iraq and the Iranians supplied the weapons and shit like that. Yeah, that's partly true. But you shouldn't have been in Iraq in the fucking first place. That's the point he's missing. We should have never been there in the first place. They had nothing to do with 9/11. They had no weapons of mass destruction. That was a lie. And what do we have to show for Iraq? Nothing. A million plus dead Iraqis, thousands of dead soldiers, even more so that died when they came back here with PTSD, trillions of dollars in debt, and instability in the region that lasts till this day.
Nah, chat. Hey, my man Myron is cooking, man. I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to jump over in a little bit though. I want everybody to go check out my man. Yeah,
I know you've been up all night.
Yeah, no, because I've been on for 6 hours. Chat. We got a regular stream to do later. Yo, you gonna be on still?
Yeah, I'll stay on. I'm gonna do more war coverage. When you come back on, just let me know. Anytime you want to talk about this shit, bro, I could cover it all day.
Hey, Myron, you're my guy. Everybody who's watching me,
Anytime,
if you're
bro.
watching me on Kick, I need you to go to what's your Kick?
It's Myron Gaines X.
So go
I could
to
drop something here.
kick.com/Myron Gaines X. I'm about to go take a nap, and I'm about to do my dogs take a nap. I will be on later on. Obviously, we're gonna still be talking about this, but I'm glad Myron came on to give us like some really good, info. I really appreciate him. And by the way,
more war coverage. And when you come back on, I'll give you updates. I'll give you a 24-hour like what's been going on because I'm gonna I'm gonna be covering the conflict like hour by hour, what's going on and everything else like that. So when you come back, I got you. What time you thinking to come back?
Well, my bosses are these fucking lunatics in the chat, so they're mad
Just
at me.
text me, bro.
They want me to come on earlier, but no. I'm gonna let you know when. Here's the thing. I appreciate you so much. Yo, everybody who's in my chat, listen, man, y'all all know I fuck with Myron. He's a really smart guy, always been really helpful to me, always been really good to me. And when it comes to like these topics, when it comes to the topics about law enforcement, he's always been there for us. This is one of those geopolitical global topics. Again, I think I try to do my best to give you guys a story of how you guys could understand this conflict. But if you really want to get in the weeds, which I know a lot of people who watch me, you guys want to really get in the nitty gritty and all the intricate details, you guys got to go check Myron out. Like he's gonna take you there. And I appreciate him for that. And we all serve a purpose.
And thanks for giving me the platform, bro. Because like I know you were kind of like, hey, I don't know this stuff or whatever. But dude, like our media purposely doesn't want you guys to know this stuff. So it's like I had to spend years researching this shit, talking to people that were in the region, talking to people, from different angles, like me understanding how the government works as well from, classification levels. Like this information isn't necessarily easy to find, and they've been suppressing it for decades, bro, for decades upon decades. So, like never be ashamed to ask a question or any of this stuff. Like this stuff isn't like, readily available in the West for a reason, dude.
Hey, I'll say this that pretty much crystallizes everything, right? I remember a couple probably weeks or maybe months ago when we brought you on, and obviously we cover hip hop and we cover culture and we cover like just cultural and pop culture stuff. And I remember when things that came up that brought up some of these topics, we're like, man, fuck this. Like we don't want to talk about it. We're not that fond about it. We don't care about it. We care about other things. And as the world has gone on, because intuitively, everybody who tunes into my stream or your stream, they're going to care about something. You then realize that some of these things are unavoidable. So it was kind of like ironic, even when I'm doing a bunch of research to kind of like get a good grasp of everything happening. And I'm like, I felt like some of this stuff was what I said on stream. I was like, I don't give a fuck about, but it's unavoidable. And the reality is that, I've been saying to people, even when I cover like business stuff, is politics as usual. Like, it's a lot of trickle down effect. So like we could have these like really lower level conversations, but if we don't like kind of look up to say, why do we keep having the same conversations, or why are we talking about this, or who's influencing that? It kind of becomes a little bit redundant, and we're not doing our job. So I found myself kind of like,
let me show you this right now. This is why your people should care. So right now, this is the price of a barrel of oil. So it's at we're looking at the 70 to 80 range. To put things in perspective, bro, it was like $50 before. So we're talking about a barrel of oil potentially getting to $100 very soon. And everyone is going to feel that shit at the pump, bro. So this is why like people should care about this stuff, because it will at some point have a trickle down effect and affect you. Like the war in Russia, the war in Ukraine, for example, like that increased the price of food because Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. So, we live in a globalized world now where conflicts in another part of the world will affect you. It might take some time, but it absolutely will come back and hurt you at some point. So that's what, people should pay a little bit of attention, especially to Middle Eastern conflicts when it comes to, because people will feel this at the pump and they will feel it in their energy bill. And it's winter right now. So it's, you got to pay for heat. Gas prices go up.
Hey, and that's where I think, it's probably a little bit of a, I've been departing from like maybe previously what I've said before, and I don't want people to think that, because the quickest thing I think your audience will is you're paid off, you're doing it. No, it's like the only reason like I've been tapping in a little bit more into this is because I'm like, respectfully, I'm never gonna go to Iraq. I'm never going to Iran. I'm never going to Israel. I really don't give a fuck. However, it is ignorant to think that not because you won't care or you don't want to indulge in whatever is going on there, it's not forcibly, and it's probably to my dismay, forcibly affecting our politics and way of life, from what stuff is going to be cost, and also for things that we're talking about. Like I did 2 days of research, you know what I mean? And I was thinking, I was like, all right, I'm going to come in, I'm going to give you like this great story and try to really like put this in a bite-sized format for my audience. And it felt really shitty that I had to come and when I was trying to come up with, well, they're going to want to know why we're doing this. And I kind of got to just say something that kind of makes me feel like other creators who, you know, they have a hot and cold relationship with them. I'm like, yo, they're kind of doing this shit for Israel, bro. Like this shit ain't got nothing to do with us, bro. Like, this shit, yo, honestly, this shit ain't got nothing to do with us. Like, we're cooling. They're doing this shit for, and again, I'm not trying to go down that realm of just like, but, bro, the truth is the truth. Like, these motherfuckers we're beefing with this damn country, going super hard. We're down to go kill all their leaders, this and third. But it's not out of fear that we're going to die and fear that these people are going to become the superpower that topples us. It's because we like to keep our rank in that region, but our rank in that region is kind of tied to like this other country. And when they can't do some shit, we go do it for them, which is kind of shitty, but whatever, right?
Yeah, bro. Like right here, like this shit was like $60 last week, bro. 60 or $50 last week. So like now it's up. This is the price of crude, right? WTI crude, $71. Brent crude, 78. Murbian crude, 79. So we're about to break into the $80 range for a barrel of oil, dude. So this is no bueno, and we will feel this at the pump very soon, if not today. And the markets, I'm sure the stock market is probably going crazy today.
Hey, I want to ask you.
That's why they probably had the press conference today too. That's a big reason why they had this press conference. That's a big reason why Trump did the attack on the weekend.
Okay, let me ask you. That's an interesting tidbit.
He did it during the 12-day war too. When we attacked Iran before, that was during the weekend. Yeah.
I want to ask you this one question, and this will be the last question before we depart. And it's me asking you as someone, I feel like we have a really dope relationship. But I'm asking you this question for the people. If you are one of those people that might come across and take the position that, hey, you know what? All right, kind of after evaluating everything with this, Iran situation, this and third, it feels like our government is doing things that are benefiting other governments more than us. What is the solution in trying to shift course or have our government realize that respectfully, we give a fuck about what's going on in these 50 United States and the territories that we control. And not saying that we don't give a fuck about the world because we have to, but how do we recenter our government or let them know that some of this shit, it feels like it, because I feel like for the normal citizen, you're a little bit more concerned today, not because you ever thought, oh, Iran is about to fuck us up or they're about to do something to us. You're concerned today because you're like, what we did to them, they got to get their get back. Right? Like, it's like we have now fucked them up so much that if they got to do a overt act that makes it look like they reciprocally have given some aggression. And we're wondering where that stops at. So as the regular, constituent, we're like, we hope they don't think about hurting Americans that are civilians. What would you say to those people who are saying, how do we tell our fucking country?
This is why I oppose this conflict so much. And like, this is why actually the CIA advisors warned Trump that killing Khomeini can backfire because now he's not really like day-to-day military operations. He's more of a symbolic figure. So killing him is going to, make all the crazies say, oh, now we got to impose more damage. And here's the thing. This is the thing that scares me the most about this. Since we hit them the way that we hit them, they're not going to stop now until they make Trump regret doing this. And the only way that they're going to make Trump regret doing this is they're going to need to cause a lot of economic pain, political pain, and that's going to encompass killing U.S. soldiers because they know that's what Trump can't sustain is American casualties. Because once the American public starts seeing more American flag draped coffins coming home from a war that we really weren't even involved in anyway and that we fucking started, that is going to absolutely destroy him politically. And the Iranians know this. They know that midterms are this year. They know that the U.S. has no stomach for Middle Eastern foreign wars anymore. And they know that Trump cares a lot about the markets. So what are they going to do? Let's destroy his political aspirations and fuck him up in the midterms by killing U.S. soldiers. Let's go ahead and destroy them economically by shutting down the Strait of Hormuz and attacking their Gulf partners and spiking up the prices of oil. And then let's go ahead and fuck Israel up in the process because fuck those niggas. And that's what they're doing. The Italians reached out to them through back channels to see if they wanted a ceasefire. They said, fuck out of here, U.S. Like, that's literally what they said. Fuck the United States. We're not negotiating. So, the thing that kills me is they literally told us and the Israelis that if either of you attack us, we are going to start a regional war. We are going to fuck you guys up financially, and we're going to create huge damage. So now at this point, they're going to attack on principle. And here's the other problem. These motherfuckers are religious zealots. They're not scared to die. like to them, it's like, oh man, I can die in Ramadan, like fighting the Americans and the Israelis. Let's go. So it's like they're bonded by religion. So, and theocracy. So these are very dangerous people to get into war with. And for them, now they got to get their get back and they got to create political and economic pain. And this is why I'm pissed off, because I don't want American soldiers dying. Every time I see an American flag draped coffin, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is a guy that had a family, that had a mom, a dad, a cousin, friends. How are you going to justify his death? Oh, he died in an American base? Like, so giving support to the Lincoln or to the Ford to help Israelis strike Iran, which has no, real threat to the United States. And you got people like Hexa talking about nuclear weapons when we had the ability to stop their nuclear weapons program or oversee it years ago. It's bullshit, dude. So they're not going to negotiate right now because now it's on principle.
Yeah, nah, shitty. I hope we do get to a point where because I feel like the voice is getting a little bit louder, where we could say to our own government, like, hey, listen, with all due respect to what's going on in the Middle East, I don't give a fuck where. In South America, in the Caribbean, in Antarctica, obviously Greenland claimed that supposedly that's like some, strategic whatever. But anywhere else, in these 50 states, if it's not to our complete benefit, we should probably just say, you know what, we're going to chill. And if any country could be reaping seismic benefits from our actions more than we are, we're fucking up. And
good point.
I don't know I don't know how that gets communicated though, right? Because like you hear so many things that there's this powerful people that they're in the union. It feels like we're almost like we're compromised and we're like, infiltrated. But, I definitely hope in due time, I think the American people would probably hopefully see what's going on and speak to say, yo, listen, man, with all respect to these other countries, fuck them. And when I mean fuck them, I mean all of them, whether it's Iran, Israel, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, we should be caring about us. And what we care about is here, and we shouldn't be putting ourselves in, just interest in or not good situations for not only our country.
Putting ourselves in extremely politically precarious situations for no strategic benefit for a foreign nation. It's retarded. So, but no, man, dude, I'll let you go to sleep. I know you're tired and stuff like that. I'll stay on. If you decide to come back on, I know you're probably tired as hell. I'll be here. I'll give you a quick recap of what happened in 24 hours. But now hopefully, you and your audience kind of understands. I know I threw a lot at you there, bro. So,
no. Thank you.
Got into this whole mess.
Hey,
it's a very complex situation.
Hey, that's why you're great. That's what I was trying to tell my audience. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm gonna give you the 100 course. Okay, I'm gonna break it down kind of on some, simplistic thing. You'll kind of know who's going against who, what the main issue is. But if you're really trying to get in the weeds, we got to bring Myron on. And it's the same thing. Shit, we should have did that for even the whole war against drugs, especially with the cartels, because that's a whole thing too. You get what I'm saying? Like
we can do that. We can do that whenever you want. That's another one of my things.
That's such a huge thing, especially with this president, Claudia, or the Sheinbaum or whatever. Like her like Ministry of Security or Secretary of Security is like the guy who El Mentor tried to kill. Like put 2 bullets in. Like it's crazy shit. So anyway, I appreciate you, but I want everyone who's watching me, if you're watching me on Kick, thank you guys for tuning in. Make an account. Please hit the follow button here. But please, I'm about to cut my stream, and I want all you guys to go over to Myron Gaines. He does an amazing job. This is his specialty. I want to let y'all know this is. And listen, I know you might have seen him shout at a couple of whores, but like that's what he does on the weekdays. Okay, that's his off time. Right here is where you're gonna get the real, in-depth intellectual breakdown that I try to give you guys for hip hop. But when it comes to geopolitical stuff, he's going to give you for here, okay? Chat, I love you. And Myron, thank you so much, like always.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I'll hit you on text, and I'll tell you when I'm getting back on. But please continue to cover this and keep doing a great job, okay?
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep covering the war. So, yeah. No, guys, Myron Gaines X, come on over from Axe Squad. Act, thank you so much, bro. I'll catch you.
Definitely.